Yeah, you're right. Kuduthutta. Ladies and gentlemen, there was technical issue that from my side. I think that is why that you did not reach live. Yes, I think no, we have already started, but the point is that it's not getting recorded and some technical issue, but that's not a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Let me, of course, that this is right time, that we are on time today. Of course, that about the India's largest online education platform, Unacademy, right? And that the benefits, of course, you got daily live classes, structured courses, you got that evaluation mechanism and unlimited access once you enroll yourself. In terms of that recorded live videos, you can learn from anywhere, anytime, ladies and gentlemen. And whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile, laptop, desktop, you can that download immediately Unacademy learning app immediately, whether it is Android or iOS. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath interacting with you with the exposure to engineering, management, and legal education, and 25 years of experience in the field of coaching. Could witness 250 results as IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, my students working in different parts of India and abroad as well. The very vision to provide career solution by enabling youths of India, for the very vision for which myself and Unacademy working together so that you realize your dream. You can also reach me through the very Telegram channel, Unacademy, that channel, using my ID Success Sampath, even Sampath Iruvengidam. And you can also that visit YouTube videos of mine, so that the previous videos that you come to know, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not only me, that with top educators, other that the team, we are working to shape you, waiting for you to shape you otherwise, right? In under UPSC Civil Service Examination, we got more than 15,000 courses, ladies and gentlemen. It's not only that, and the very UPSC Civil Service Examination, we got two major programs we have devised. The the Plus program, talking about live classes, test series, unlimited practice sessions, even the structured schedule we have part of this Plus program. You can be part of either 12 months program or 25 months program, 24 months program, of course 2 years, according to your convenience, ladies and gentlemen. And you can use my referral code, say Success, to avail maximum 10% discount. But we strongly recommend the iconic program, which has got added advantages more than this Plus program. You will be allotted a personalized coach to take care of you. Here too, that particular personalized coach, of course, personal coach to you, will take care of you, understand your nature. You will be given study planner accordingly. And you got, that personalized feedback based on that nature. And you will be trained every day in terms of, answer writing practices. Here too, you have 12 months program, 24 months program. Please use my referral code, say Success, to avail maximum, 10% discount. We strongly recommend this particular program, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is right time. I'm sorry, at the beginning, technical, that issues. That's why, of course, that it went. Keshav Laksar. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that thing. We started the program, but we had some issue. I think we got fixed. I think that now you can welcome Keshav. Ladies and gentlemen, this is right time. Let us get into the very purpose of our interaction today. We have been interacting with you in the past, that variety of videos. You can watch all those things already available in YouTube channel, that Success Sampath or Sampath Iruvengidam, using that ID. You know very well the sociology as a subject matter is very popular subject, and because of that the simplicity on the part of the subject and also highly scoring in the UPSC, that mains written examination, when comparing with all other social sciences, sociology has got unique position that helps you not only to score in UPSC Civil Service Examination, also changes your personality, because the very subject matter has got its own core concept called objectivity that expects you to see, that each and everything, every issue, every event, every institution from two different angles, otherwise, from multiple perspectives, so that you understand the spirit. Of course, that in sociology you got major perspectives: structural functionalism, conflict school of thought, even symbolic interactionism. Ladies and gentlemen, you know very well this sociology is all about society, study about society, science of society. The society is nothing but system or network of social relationship. Mere people cannot be called as society, more than people. The relationship existing among the people, that's what we call, but it is not this or that. Social, I said, because when I say social, that's a broad term encompassing all that aspects of the society into account, into its fold. Maybe the very marital, familial, kinship, your relationship, or your educational, economic, political, even your identity in terms of maybe the caste belong to, the class you belong to, the gender you belong to. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. And not only that, how this particular system or network of relationship, social relationship called society, keep on undergoing change. The change in terms of the structure, the change in terms of function, and the change in terms of that culture. That's what called social change. So all these things put together call that subject matter of sociology, ladies and gentlemen. But this sociology, of course, it's not only scoring very good marks in, that the sociology, the mains optional we are talking about, out of 500, you can go beyond 450 also. Why not? You set the standards. Don't wait for others, that to set the standard so that you can emulate or imitate in future. Why you can't be? You be the role model, ladies and gentlemen. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. That's what we are saying, that think big, aim high. Small aim is crime. We are keep on emphasizing this point. Sir, 450, how come, sir? Be realistic. Why not? That, see, the butterfly, that nobody will believe, the butterfly, that even wouldn't have, that believed that, that when it was, that part of that larva, one day fine morning it's going to be butterfly. Do you think, that the very diamond would have, of course, that inanimate objects we are talking about. See, when you apply, the time, energy, pressure, even the passions in the long run, even a coal becomes, diamond. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way that demands your, that some, parameters. That's all. You come to know. We are ready to share. With that, definitely you can reach that level. Otherwise, only when you aim at star, at least you can land on moon. Let me repeat once again. Think big, aim high. Ladies and gentlemen, it is possible. I am qualified to speak about this because I could score, wonderful marks in this particular subject matter called sociology. In the beginning, I was called Sociology Sampath, and later, my institution qualified me as Success Sampath. That's a different story. Not only me, that the kids, of course, could score very well. That's why they are working in different parts of India in various capacities. You too, you're going to join the club, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, coming back to that, it is more than 450 out of 500. Why not? Even saying 450 from my angle is wrong. Think big, aim high. Yes, not only in sociology, even in GS, especially paper 1, you got that society portion. You can score easily, comfortably. Even in GS 4 paper, part of mains I'm talking about, you got ethics paper. In that ethics, you got case studies around 130 marks, that the complete social problems getting converted into, the very case studies there. It becomes very easier for you to understand the case studies and answer, letter and spirit, where you need not reveal your sociological flavor, even in GS writing. And also another, that the paper called essay. See, when you take into account all the previous year questions, of course, you can group the topics into 8 domains, one domain belonging to this subject matter of sociology called society. Since you prepare very well in sociology, it becomes easier process for you to face that, essay question and score more. I did that way. I could score very good marks in essay also. Even my students. Not only that. So the clarity of concepts, the foundation of the very subject matter, you got basic concepts here that will give you much of clarity, the very basic understanding with which you understand the perspectives too. That is going to take you to the next level. Yes, even in the oral interview, the way with which you are going to answer the question will be well balanced, of course, objective, of course, will be precise, of course, will be to the point. Of course, the decision, what you arrive at, that definitely, that you will be appreciated for that. Why? The subject matter has the sociology. It's not only popular. Why popular? It's because of all these advantages, ladies and gentlemen. You will come to know, that about this, that in every video we are emphasizing, so that you better, and every, that the program, we encounter newcomers. I think, hope I do justice for them parallelly. Yes, this subject matter, of course, sociology, science of society, study of society. I said the basic concepts. Apart from that, we are talking about role of perspectives. The perspectives are nothing for, nothing but, of course, as I said, structural functionalism, conflict school of thought, even symbolic interactionalism. In that, that line, we bring, that different social scientists. Very well, the very birth of sociology has got its own root, especially in the social situation, the historical context we are talking about. Every idea has got its own root. Only when you understand the root, you will start appreciating the ideas, even recognizing the ideas, and later celebrating the ideas. The root, of course, I'm talking about the venue, European society, the European continent, especially at the end of 18th century and up to, that the middle of 19th century, ladies and gentlemen. The various revolutions happen in that Europe. Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, of course, Intellectual Revolution, you call Enlightenment period. All these revolutions, of course, responsible for creating some sort of, chaos, confusion. Otherwise, people call change, social transformation. So the society was in a particular, shape, but it got complete, it underwent complete change. So the social scientists of that particular, contemporary started writing about the very society. If this is the society, what was the society we had earlier? They started writing about society. That culminated in the very subject matter called sociology. Those social scientists, we celebrate them as social thinkers, sociologists, founding fathers of sociology. It is they whose contribution, whose understanding, whose, that way with which they understood the society, we appreciate, we celebrate, we, celebrate them as, founding fathers of sociology here. Especially, we already in that line, discussed the Karl Marx belonging to the founder of conflict tradition. And also, that the Max Weber belonging to same school of thought. And Karl Marx, that Max Weber has got his own difference of opinion with, Karl Marx. We spoke already. Otherwise, most of the writings of Max Weber came in response to the writings of, the very Karl Marx. It is also differing within the same school of thought, the conflict school tradition. Another major perspective, the structural functionalism. Otherwise, here you look at the society as a system, as if it has got order, structure. The structure in its functioning, a system is born. In this, that structural functionalism school, we discussed already Emile Durkheim. And today, we are going to discuss about the Talcott Parsons, American sociologist, Talcott Parsons. It is he who introduced Max Weber to the American, that social sciences, and translating from, German to, English. And his own, of course, that later, that in the tradition of Talcott Parsons, there came another modern structural functionalist called, that the very Robert K. Merton. It is he questioned the very traditional aspects of structural functionalism, and so that, that to be relevant, to be practical, to be, that more precise to the modern, that society. So today, our discussion, our focus is going to be centered around Talcott Parsons belonging to structural functionalism school of thought. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, it is that way. So I think, this brief introduction is, that sufficient for you. Of course, what is this Talcott Parsons and his relevance in the UPSC mains, especially the sociology syllabus, and that to thinkers portion. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are very strong in thinkers, say Karl Marx, Max Weber, Emile Durkheim, or Durkheim, that even Talcott Parsons, R.K. Merton, and the symbolic interactionism perspective, where you got, George Herbert Mead, with all these thinkers of the paper 1, the unit, you are capable of, that touching even 250 marks around. If you are very strong in this unit, your first paper is nothing. Even all these thinkers, will re-enter in other units also in the name of, that institution and various theories, perspectives. All these thinkers, again, they will be re-entering. When you apply this notion in Indian context, that is what paper 2, Indian sociology. where you incorporate the customized, personalized, the Indian sociologists, of course, G.S. Gurye, Indologist, and A.R. Desai, Marxian perspective, even structural functionalism, of course, M.N. Srinivas, even you got, that another gentleman, of course, that Yogendra Singh, modernization of Indian tradition, and other Indian sociologists too, enriching the very subject matter called sociology. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. This is what the brief, that info about the syllabus. Here, this particular topic and its relevance in UPSC mains, especially the very, that written as, that as I said, the thinkers portion, the thinkers unit, sociological thinkers. We spoke about all these thinkers already. Please, you can watch rest of the videos already available there. And today, it's about Talcott Parsons, belonging to structural functionalism. The major contributions, of course, social system, social, that of course, the pattern variables. Though, the two, the topics available, it has got, that much concepts you will come to know. And we are going to discuss. Of course, that in the beginning, we will be, the touching biography, later his contributions. And it is little bit elaboration. We call, that his theory is otherwise called grand theory of social system. Even social action we call voluntaristic theory of social action, where you find elaboration. And even he never said AGIL, but for our practical purpose we have put AGIL, the functional prerequisites without which a society cannot survive. Very well, without basic amenities, our people cannot survive. You call, roti, kapda, makan. But we move to the next level. Bijli, sadak, pani, we are talking about. The infrastructure development, of course, in spite of those, that disturbing issues. But the COVID crisis, again, it's re-entering, ladies and gentlemen. But those, the basic amenities, like, the functional prerequisites without which a society cannot survive, that elaboration. And also, that a society has got its own structure. Even the pattern variables, you got dilemma when you enter into action to either to choose this or that. An individual's dilemma between, the two choices available. The choices you make, that decides, that ensures even social order accordingly. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also going to talk about the pattern variables, the choices in front of you. It is that way. It is in part and parcel of the major contributions of the American sociologist, structural functionalist called Talcott Parsons, under social action, social system, and what are all the resources can be consulted to enrich your understanding more than the interaction, the today's interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, here you find the relevance to the examination. I think it is right time, that let's enter into, introduce you to the Talcott Parsons. Let me repeat once again, American sociologist, structural functionalist. It is he who introduced Max Weber to the American, social sciences, American sociology otherwise, by translating the writings of, that especially the Max Weber, Protestant Ethic and Spirit of Capitalism, from German to English. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Excuse me. Yes, biography. American sociologists, what's his, that social situation, so that you appreciate the ideas, so that you establish the connectivity. The environment in which, that the environment is brought up, especially the social milieu, both religious and academic, ladies and gentlemen. So you understand, because that another social scientist, of course, sociologist R.K. Merton, a street fighter who became sociologist later. Probably he understood that's why the ANAMI, state of lawlessness, normlessness, you will come to know. Because everything is good, everything happens for reasoning. Probably that is the way, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, he gave the grand theory of social system because of because of his own exposure to the variety of isms, the social world. Especially he talks about, he studied utilitarianism of Wilfred Pareto. When you say utilitarianism, that you can also recall some other names like, Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, from, that quantitative utilitarianism to qualitative utilitarianism, where you talk about two peoples. What is utilitarianism? You are concerned about utility, usefulness, where you also bring, of course, sophistication, the purpose, that, what is that? Pleasure is better than pain, the principle. People run after that particular, the consumption mode. luxury mode. It is all about that we are talking about. So utility aspects, he actually, that got exposed to that ism. And later also, that because he's structural functionalist, he belongs to the school of structural functionalism. Naturally, the beginning he took the path of the Emile Durkheim, one of the founding fathers of sociology, well. So why the positivism? It talks about the methods of natural sciences can also be applied while studying society. That is why, that not only that, Emile Durkheim delineated the subject matter of sociology, and he also elevated the subject matter of sociology to the level of science that can be equated with other natural sciences. The positivism, of course, he had his own connection with the founding father of sociology, of course, Auguste Comte. So, that, and also got exposed to, that Talcott Parsons got exposed to the Emile Durkheim's, that positivism also. And also exposed to the Max Weber. I told you already, it is he who translated his Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism to the American world, from German to English, and also the very idealism. Max Weber, had this exposure from Immanuel Kant, actually. Idealism, ideas are responsible for change, otherwise important role played by ideas. Even, that we spoke, that another gentleman, of course, Hegel, for this particular purpose. Where we are talking about, that even Hegel said, the Karl Marx followed the footsteps of Hegel in the beginning as young Hegelian. See the connectivity. Of course, even the modern day world, people are suggesting you should have your own, that role model, guru. Same way, all these social scientists, in the beginning, they got exposed to variety of, that isms. Later, they carve out their own, perspectives. Something they get attracted, otherwise they make difference in their delivery mechanism, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So, that in the beginning, of course, not only that, other exposures we are talking about. Talcott Parsons also, that got exposed to, the field of biology and also economics, especially the political, the economy of USA. And he utilized all those understanding, in the field of sociology. And not only that, he got influenced by Walter Hamilton and Clarence Ayers, especially the USA. That you talk about Amherst College, and exposed to the literature, very literature of that sociology through them, got influenced by them. And beyond that, no systematic training or exposure, that to the Chicago or that European school of sociology, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about Talcott Parsons. But indirect exposure, it's not direct systematic training or exposure to this Chicago or European the school of sociology, but he had indirect exposure to the works of William Graham Sumner. We talk about in groups, out group separation, and even ethnocentrism, the concept enriched by him. The very Charles Hurton Cooley, of course, where we that we introduce him in terms of classifying primary groups, secondary groups, even in the world of symbolic interactionism, where we talk about self formation, the looking glass self theory, where you treat society as a mirror and you get the feedback from the society that changes your perception about yourself. Their self formation, I becomes me. All those things we spoke under Charles Hurton Cooley, looking glass self theory. Apart from that, that just now we spoke Emile Durkheim, we are talking about the structural functionalist and founder of positive tradition, and Thorstein Veblen. He is well known for that conspicuous consumption. What do you mean by conspicuous consumption? The consumption you do not for mere consumption purpose, rather for showy reason. Say for example, if I'm asking you, what happened, why you didn't attend the test other day, you immediately said, my Mercedes Benz that went for service, so I did not take part in the test, sir. What? Mercedes Benz service? What, man? No, sir, because I never travel in other cars, sir. Mode of transportation is always by Mercedes Benz. Oh, this guy with that notion, never compromising that luxury standards. So here, consumption, of course, the transportation is not for the transportation purpose, rather for showy or display reasons, to make yourself prominent, conspicuous. That's why the conspicuous consumption concept, that's given by Thorstein Veblen we are talking about. It is that way we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So this indirect exposure to all these, that very important sociologists, who enriched the subject matter of sociology by, contributing variety of concepts. And also, that all these sociologists, that wrote critique over American capitalism also. Of course, there you can relate this conspicuous consumption. You establish the connectivity. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Not only that, let me take you to the next level of biography. Understand the background of that very Talcott Parsons. Of course, he in London School of Economics he met Habermas. Habermas very well, social contract theory, where that this Habermas, especially in the context of study of evolution of morality, people come and agree over that a particular set of principles, the value consensus you are talking about, the social contract theory, then they strictly adhere to. And also Maurice Ginsburg, we are talking about, it is he who studied about, that various, especially the nature of economic institutions, the pre-literate society. What do you mean by pre-literate societies? It's otherwise called tribal society. What do you call scheduled tribes? Tribal society. They are not illiterate among the literate people. They are yet to get exposed to the field of education. We are keep on emphasizing they should be called non-literate or pre-literate people. Apart from the terms you have for tribal people, native indigenous people, Adivasis, first people, even as said by Mahatma Gandhi, Girijans. And not only that, Malinowski, that sometimes, it's overlapping, the subject matter of sociology overlapping with other social sciences. That's why you see all social scientists, put together. That Bronislaw Malinowski, of course, that who talks about needs theory, especially the development of functional analysis. That the various, that the subjects from various social scientists, that are that of course our structural functionalists, modern structural functionalists, American sociologists, Talcott Parsons got influence. Beyond that, he met that his wife, that Helen, that of course that life partner, the Helen Walker too. Not only that, in Germany, especially that Heidelberg, we are talking about his exposure to the published works of Karl Marx, Max Weber, and Sampath. Ladies and gentlemen, American sociologists, especially the venue, the European continent, naturally, because the very birth of sociology, the European continent, in response to various revolutions. Of course, all those, the Marx, Weber, how come? So naturally, when he went there, he got exposed to the published works of Karl Marx, Max Weber, Sampath. Not only that, so that the very doctoral thesis, that we are talking about, the very Emile Durkheim, of course, the conceptions of capitalism in German social science literature was taught with special reference to the works of Karl Marx, Max Weber, Sampath. You just see how he got influence, but he belongs to structural functionalism. We are talking, ladies and gentlemen, we are interacting, that about very Talcott Parsons, that welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you, ladies and gentlemen. Especially we are discussing, the thinkers portion of sociology, paper 1, that too Talcott Parsons, American modern structural functionalist, American sociologist. Especially we are discussing, that the social conditions, his own, that background responsible for the major contributions of that a grand theory of social system and voluntaristic theory of social action we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time. Of course, social structure, social action, you will come to know, that even in the R.K. Merton we are going to discuss. The focus of Talcott Parsons and R.K. Merton was on modern industrial societies, especially American society. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand the difference between the sociology and anthropology. Both are studying about society. But anthropology about primitive society, how human beings originated on the surface of the earth and associated culture. But whereas that how the modern society, when you talk about the sociology, the subject matter of sociology is modern society. That is a characteristic difference, because the very birth of sociology in response to various revolutions happened in Europe, that too at the end of 18th century till the middle of 19th century. This is. And here too, the focus of Talcott Parsons, that R.K. Merton, especially about modern industrial societies, ladies and gentlemen, especially American society. That's why both, that Talcott Parsons, R.K. Merton called as American sociologists or American structural functionalists, who also, that brought the very traditional structural functionalism, because when it was labeled as conservatism school of thought, because they are always preoccupied with the notion called structure, function, otherwise social order, social integration. Otherwise, they were criticized, they are conservative, not ready to accept the dynamism on the part of the society called social change or conflict. This, especially R.K. Metten, you will come to know, he questioned the very postulates of functionalism and took, the very, that traditional structural functionalism from the clutches of conservatism so as to serve the modern day needs. You will come to know about that, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, that the very British social, of course, that's what the difference we spoke. So, sociologists focus on modern industrial society, but here, Talcott Parsons, R.K. Metten, that their focus on American society, especially modern industrial society. But whereas British social anthropologists, that we are talking about, maybe Radcliffe Brown, all this Malinowski we are talking about, their focus, that was on primitive societies. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand, because you got a separate unit also in your paper on sociology and other social sciences. You get a lot of short notes based on that. You will come to know that's very simple. We will suggest you template, don't worry. That's very simple technique. Like you understood now the difference between sociology on the one hand, anthropology on the other. The focus, that's anthropology over primitive society, sociology focus on modern industrial society, especially here Talcott Parsons and R.K. Metten on American society. This is right, and gentlemen, not only that, his influence because of his colleagues at Harvard University, especially L.J. Henderson, that whose contribution, especially on fitness of the environment. Of course, the exposure to science and biochemist, that his leading, disciple, especially Vilfredo Pareto. Vilfredo Pareto also talked about circulation of elites. Because in every society, you talk about the elites, the creamy people, whatever may be the sphere. It may be economic elite, political elite, educational elite, religious elite. So, of course, that you take into account, but they are called social elite. In every society, you got elite people, the creamy people, top people. But they are never constant. That elites keep on, the nature of elites, that undergoes phenomenal shift, that oscillates between the nature of the elites, maybe sometimes, a foxy, cunning, sometimes lion. So the nature of the leadership, of course, elite, that's what called circulation of elites. You will come to know more in political institutions also, where Vilfredo Pareto, we are talking about, who talks about circulation of elites. Every society witnesses. Maybe in Indian context, Tamil Nadu, of course, South India context, if you want to explain, that maybe Jayalalitha, the Selvi Jayalalitha, late Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, well known for her boldness, maybe lion-like leadership. And in place, that against that Jayalalitha, of course, that the very political acumen, the Rajniti, of course, that like Chanakya, of the South Indian politics, of course you can say the long presence of Dravidian movement, of course the Dr. Kalaignar Karunanidhi, who is well known for its fox will be like maligning, but that his political acumen, the Chanakya, the way of administration, of course that. So it is fox like, lion like, circulation of elites we are talking about, that. So hope you will understand the right spirit. It's not maligning anybody, just for example, because that is their strength. When you talk about boldness, sometimes you take decision that goes against you. But when you think, that when in a broad-based manner you discuss, finally you arrive at decision, so that people are that calling this guy hesitating to take decision. But it will be long-lasting, that impact. It is that way. So each and every style has got its own plus and minus. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I took that because I want you to know everything. So it is that way. So Vilfredo Pareto, of course, that circulation of elites, that his leading disciple, that biochemist and leading disciple, his exposure, who spoke about the parallelism between organisms and society. Of course, this talks about organic analogy. Like we spoke about, that the Herbert Spencer, social Darwinism. Of course, Herbert Spencer, well known for Origin of Species, well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. I think, that right time, let me some more information, don't worry. With that, after that, we'll be entering into the contribution. His exposure, not only, that those exposures we are talking about, the Sigmund Freud, father of psychoanalysis, who traced, that reflexive behavior. That otherwise, that behind every action, there is the sexual motive, maybe, that it is that way. Otherwise, why daughter's attraction towards father, that son's attraction towards mother, or vice versa, we are talking about. So, it's because of that instinct, That of course, that Sigmund Freud, who spoke about the mind's existence in terms of ego, super ego, you will come to know more in so symbolic interactionism perspective also, and whose single systematic theory especially we are talking about, that. So this is it's also, that influence, that very Talcott Parsons we are talking about. And it is he, the Talcott Parsons, American sociologist, it is he who introduced Max Weber, especially his, that the Protestant ethic of, the Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. This is, that he went against, Karl Marx, the very Max Weber, that said, Karl Marx said infrastructure shaping superstructure, but Max Weber said no. Superstructure can also shape infrastructure. Religion can also be responsible for, that shaping economic institution. In that sense, he took the Christianity, especially Protestantism, its ethic, Calvinism, how, in what way responsible for the development of capitalism, the West especially. And whereas that religion did not benefit India and Asia like countries where, that went other way around, that stopped them. Of course, that's why under development in economy. So this opinion, that's what the Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, it's a challenge to, the Karl Marx established principles within conflict tradition. So this particular, that German literature, of course, the German social science, the contribution of Max Weber got translated into American world by none other than our, the Talcott Parsons. Not only that, ladies and gentlemen, Talcott Parsons as a sociologist could be matched with, that is the reason, the tremendous impact. That's why we brought him under Thinker's portion of paper 1, the global sociologist. He can be matched with the stature of the Karl Marx, Emil Durkheim, and Max Weber. Next in line, we are talking today about Talcott Parsons. So the major contributions I told you, especially, that's what your syllabus also, the title, the structure of social action. I was insisting in the beginning, voluntaristic theory of social action. Of course, voluntaristic theory of social action is the title for Max Weber, but the structure of social action is the title for Talcott Parsons. So there are questions nowadays. When you talk about social action, that how Max Weber, Talcott Parsons differing from Max Weber. Even in the structural functionalism, how Emil Durkheim, that the very Talcott Parsons, Archimedes differing in their own domains, in their own perspectives, within the very perspective otherwise, in their own, how do they make differences? When we talk about alien, there are questions you get nowadays like this, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is right time for me to touch, that. And when you talk about alienation, Karl Marx speaks about alienation, even heavily rationalized bureaucracy turning individuals into iron cage trapped individuals. Of course, that Max Weber talks about alienation. Even, that Archimedes, that Merton, especially, that the deviance we are talking about, state of lawlessness, normlessness, how it is responsible for generation of that, that deviant personalities. So over a particular concept, we are going to, compare 3 to 4, that sociologists that way. Ladies and gentlemen, it is appropriate for us, that now to enter into, of course, the major contributions of Talcott Parsons. That is what, that the part of syllabus we are talking about. This structure of social action is otherwise called, that social action syllabus. But whereas Max Weber, voluntaristic theory of social action, ladies and gentlemen, you can, keep in your mind that way. Then grand theory of social system in the year 1951. I think it is right time. Let's get into, the contribution. What is social action? You might be already aware. What is social action? Action influenced by society is called social action. Even individual action is called a social action when he keeps in his mind about society, then he discharges the duty, then it becomes social action. This particular concept we already introduced to you in the domain of Max Weber also. It is that way. The voluntaristic theory of social action we are talking about, it is that way. The intrinsic element of social system, especially it speaks about why it is called voluntaristic theory of social action. That from Max Weber also we spoke about, Western approach, sympathetic introspection. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. What is this? According to Talcott Parsons, each and every actor focused towards a particular goal. When he or she oriented towards a particular goal, there are lot of the constraints. The constraints, the situational constraints, in terms of value system of the society or in terms of his own personal motive, that acts as an obstacle Otherwise, that whenever you want to discharge, that any particular duty, you got choices in front of the society, in front of you, provided by the society. Either to choose this or that dilemma, of course, you call again in terms of pattern variables. Those choices provided by the society itself, but they are very dichotomous in nature. If you choose one, you can't choose another. That way, you are going to witness the similar way in the pattern variables too. So when all, this is what we are talking about. That is why even, the people are suggesting nowadays SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunities, threat, SWOT analysis you go for. How the obstacles you face in terms of the social norms, social values, the part of the culture of the society. But whereas, that otherwise you talk about the very motives, your own personal motives influencing the action. It is that way. So all the very point here is all individuals are goal oriented. No doubt at all. They've got their own purpose. That is what, according to Talcott Parsons. He begins with, that, so it sounds like, of course, social action where both, the Talcott Parsons, the Max Weber sharing the common platform. Of course, the voluntaristic theory of social action, which is otherwise said to be the intrinsic element of the social system. Without this social action, you can never talk about. Even, that you will come to know when the social action meets in the social system, a role is born. The point of intersection is called role. It is that way. Ladies and gentlemen, you will come to know the point of intersection is otherwise called the role. Yes, it is that way. Maybe this is, that social system you call, that social action, this one. Maybe this line you talk about the point of intersection, we are talking about the role. It is that way. So that is why this social action is an intrinsic element of the social system. What is social action? Action influenced by society. But in Max Weber, we spoke already using ideal type method. He talked about 4 types. In Max Weber's domain, we spoke recreational, recreational, affective, traditional, we spoke. But we are in Talcott Parsons now. We are talking about voluntaristic theory of social action where all individuals are focused towards a particular goal, but they are not free from the constraints or conditionalities, situational constraints in terms of societal values or that norms you talk about, even his own personal motive. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also going to take you to the next level. It is that way. So that action is not empirically discrete but occurs in constellations which constitute a system otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, you just imagine, you are preparing for civil service examination. It's not a simple act. It's not a single act. When you prepare for civil service examination, that demands, that you touch ultimately, maybe your education institution ultimately, your past experiences. Maybe, that demands, infrastructure, that you should be supported. That talks about economic institution and your own, the mindset, of course, that talks about, that psychology. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, that your political, your society and your government ultimately responsible for making policies that, that sets the rules for your recruitment mechanism by UPSC, that political institution. And when you want to achieve the task, maybe your faith system we are talking about, there comes your religion. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, that your family moral support, that without which you can never, that achieve the task, there comes institution called family. And even your well-wishers, relatives. Ladies and gentlemen, so many, that institutions, that ultimately behind in shaping you, in making you as a leader of this organization, whatever may be in different capacities. Got the idea? You are a leader in the making. So that particular action, preparing for civil service examination, it is not empirically discrete. It occurs in group. It occurs as a collectivity, the constellation of activities, ladies and gentlemen. It's almost like that's what we call in put together recruitment mechanism, we call from UPSC angle. Maybe from your angle, that the career building, it is a system. So it is not a simple act or single act, ladies and gentlemen, that involves other actors. You are also, that encroaching upon the spheres of other institutions, social institutions. This is how you should understand, that now hope you would have understood what is social action, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, according to Parsons, these systems, that of action have 3 modes of organizations. That, that this action happens in 3 modes. Especially because, civil service preliminary exam, that the first stage you are going to write when you prepare for this examination, you keep that mind, CSP, like, what is that? C meant for cultural system, S for social system, P for personality system. Just code, keep it in your mind. So what is this personality system? If you ask me, ladies and gentlemen, this personality system is all about the aspects of human personality, your personality. See now that what is your personality? Summation of the, that average of all your belief system, that attitude, the value system, the faith, ideas you have. It is outcome of your socialization. The way with which you understood about society, maybe your internalization, maybe the way with which you are taught, brought up, that institutionalization, both put together you call brought up, otherwise socialization. No doubt you are conditioned to the culture of the society. You are the byproduct of this particular socialization. If at all you say this is what my personality, it is outcome of that particular socialization. But there is totally different angle. In Tamil, there is a saying, Kadai virrithen kolvar illai. But all institutions are teaching you. But are you taking? There are no takers. Because of the thing you got law, don't expect everybody will be, will be strictly adhering to. That is why you got courts, punishments, the court penal mechanisms, the police stations, everything. If people are strictly adhering to the norms and value system, you don't need the management also. You don't need MBA. You don't need, the enforcing authorities. That's not happening. In practice, there are a lot of deviants. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. Of course, the personality may differ from person to person. Of course, these aspects of human personality we take into account. According to Talcott Parsons, the systems of action existing in three modes of organization, maybe cultural system, social system, personality system. Now we are talking about, the very personality system, especially the aspects of human personality that affects individual social functioning. How Hitler made impact on the society, how Mahatma Gandhi made impact on society. Even Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose, Swami Vivekananda, Martin Luther King. Ladies and gentlemen, so some leaders, established leaders, they made, indelible mark we are talking about, imprints. It is that way. So the influence of personality, aspects of human personality affecting individual social, they become your role model, they are influencing your action too. Then cultural system, of course, that is what is culture? Culture is after all blueprint of the society, very well. The culture, even E.B. Taylor's definition we discussed, it's a whole complex which includes everything: knowledge, art, belief, language, literature, anything that can be acquired by any person as a member of the society. That's what culture. The culture at the level of society comes to an individual through the process socialization, well. This culture, of course, the cultural system, what is that? It talks about your belief system, the value you uphold. What do you mean by value? Social values are general guidelines to an action. When you make it more specific, it becomes law. When you document, that when it becomes more specific, I said, when the value system becoming more specific in stricter sense, it becomes, social norms. When the social norms are documented, formalized, you call them as law. Law is otherwise formal mechanism of social control, well. Yes, so in the cultural system, you got belief pattern, faith pattern, otherwise value system. It is general in nature. Even the symbolic functioning we are talking about in an interaction situation. Maybe where symbol, language could be called clear-cut example. After all, language is said to be the vehicle of the culture, the medium with which you communicate. Ladies and gentlemen, so this is about blueprint of the society, the cultural system. Then comes a broad social system. What? Where we talk about forms and modes of interaction between individuals and organization. Here, the emphasis is on the interaction, especially its forms, modes. The social system, when you say, it may be touching upon the variety of social institutions. It talks about the forms, modes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So, that this is what, that according to Talcott Parsons, the systems of social action which you encounter, the individuals may encounter in three modes of, modes of system, otherwise three modes of, organization, maybe CSP, cultural, social, personality system. This is according to Talcott Parsons. Keep in your mind CSP, Civil Service Preliminary, so that you never forget. And not only that, according to, the Talcott Parsons, human beings as living organisms, they interact, especially with outside reality, as well as within their own mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only external interaction, also you speak, that's why, that, so all, that our spiritual gurus will be asking simple question. Do you speak yourself every day at least for 5 minutes? Do you, perform meditation or yogasana? Forget about the rest of the world, forget about the rest of the society. Do you have belief in you? Self-belief is the best, the thing. If you don't have self-belief, even everybody is, putting confidence in you. If you don't have self-belief, it is nothing. For that, you have to speak to yourself. You should have personal communication first. Something is inside now, and that should get convinced. If you don't convince yourself, all of your actions with the rest of the society, your interaction with the rest of the members, it's perplexed, confusion. It is not outside in, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, it is inside out. Everything is inside. So there should be, strong communication inside. So later, that's first part. Second thing, you start interacting with the rest of the world. So according to Talcott Parsons, human beings as living organisms interact both ways, with outside the reality as well as within their own mind. The I, the own mind, it is what is for me, I. Maybe this outside the reality, you can say comparable, I'm saying. It's not, Talcott Parsons said, me. In the social situation, you put yourself where you are. Maybe here also you can bring, Charles, that H. Cooley's looking glass theory, self-theory. The feedback you get from the rest of the society, where you alter, modify your opinion about yourself, can be compared with that. That comes only, that your interaction, the social situation. But your interaction on your own, that talks about, but for me, who will speak on behalf of me? There comes that notion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So, right. So, the behavior of an individual, especially, when, that is what? Action. So, it is, you might be aware, that your action, the long run, becomes behavior. You might be aware, the behavior in the long run becomes your character. The character is otherwise called part of the culture. That represents, the character represents your socialization, the culture to which that you are socialized. After all, this culture is the blueprint of the society. As an individual, you do something, you got your own action, otherwise that's called social action. So all social actions in the long run, that when you do it regularly, of course maybe that becomes habits, that you call otherwise behavior. The behavior in the long, that getting crystallized as character. The character is the byproduct of your socialization. Character is the cultural conditioning of your society. When this behavior, that here, of course, that when an individual's behavior becomes action, this is according to behavior becomes action, ladies and gentlemen. Even your just behavior, in an occasion you perform a particular behavior, your behavior is called action. How? So this is according to Talcott Parsons. Ladies and gentlemen, the behavior of an individual becomes action, of course social action, when under four conditions, four situations, four conditions, of course prerequisites. When the behavior is oriented towards a particular goal, of course this is the right time, that probably you can, that I think, there itself. See, all your, when an individual is oriented towards a particular goal we are talking about, it is that way. I think it is right time. Let me take you to the concept here. What is that? When behavior is oriented towards the attainment of goal, when it occurs in situations, in a social media, and which is regulated by, that the norms and values of the society, and which also involves parallelly your application of energy, investment of energy, your motivation. This is what we spoke here, ladies and gentlemen. All individuals are goal oriented. When they are oriented towards, particular task or goal, there are, that obstacles. Otherwise, you say that the situational constraints, maybe in terms of social norms, or maybe in terms of, that individual's personal motives. This is what, that here the behavior becomes, that of course action, social action, according to Talcott Parsons. When it becomes action, even your behavior is called social action. In that sense, this is what according to, the Talcott Parsons, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So the four conditions: behavior oriented towards ends or goals, it occurs in a situation, and it is, regulated. You got, constraints, otherwise social constraints you call, in terms of norms and values of the society, and parallelly that also involves your, the participation, your involvement, your application of energy, your strong motive, your effort otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, so that this is Talcott Parsons. Not only that, you can ask me, sir, can you please give me any example for this? Yes, we can. Why? A civil service aspirant going to the exam center, on the day of examination, especially by driving two-wheeler or car. What is that? Civil service aspirant going to the examination. Of course, this guy is goal-oriented. How he wanted to become IAS officer or IPS, whatever may be. He wanted to be part of, that bureaucratic mechanism, the pillars of the nation. That happens on a particular day. That otherwise maybe it's a day. Maybe the situation, if you want to talk about, that the social constraint, if you want to talk about, of course, you are driving the car. To drive the car, you have to apply your energy, your efforts. That happens in the roadside. Maybe you have to encounter all those obstacle traffic, whatever may be. Or even, just imagine Chennai flood or whatever may be. Even Delhi, like gas chamber, sometimes, because you have to understand. In disaster December we witness in India, Delhi becomes gas chamber, Chennai becomes, the great bath. And thanks to encroachment, people are irresponsible, that economic development that we are pursuing, compromising environmental standards, whether you talk about encroachment of, water bodies in, that Tamil Nadu, that happened long period. And when you talk about, that the very Delhi, of course, that the neighborhood states ultimately burning, the staple burnt ultimately, that brings, that the particulate matters, ppm level we are talking about, more than 2.5. The smoke plus fog, and also, that November month, of course, nearing Deepavali, what will happen ultimately, all those, that the fog combining together. That's why Supreme Court judgment also against that, crackers. So we are talking about what is the anthropogenic factors involved. So when you drive the car, before you reach, that expected place, say the examination hall, you got a lot of constraints, the obstacles that occurs in a situation. Otherwise, there is a signal. It is up to, that strictly you have to respect the signal. You are going to be civil servant of India. What happened? It's your choice ultimately. You may be a deviant because you want to face the examination. You just. Otherwise, there are some accidents. You are not bothered. You take, that some shortcut route. You go. You are irresponsible. Maybe. Because you are bothered about your goal, your focus. It occurs in a situation, there it talks about your norms, the values of the society, situational constraints, also your application of energy, effort, your motivation. Ladies and gentlemen, so it's not really going for examination. Any activity you take into account, all individuals are focused towards a particular goal, but when they are focused towards a particular goal, that that occurs in a situation where behavior becomes ultimately action. That situational constraints may be in terms of societal norms and values. Even we are talking about the motives, the effort, application of energy on the part of an individual. Yes, so on the basis of that, you got, the value orientation and motivational orientation. All individuals are oriented towards a particular task. In terms of situational constraints, it could be, norms or value orientation, or it could be in terms of motivational orientation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way we are talking about. In motivational orientation, according to the very Talcott Parsons we are talking about, so it talks about the needs or external appearances, the motives, the psychological aspects, the plans that goes with personality system. We already spoke. All actions happening in 3 modes of organization: CSP, cultural system, personality system, social system. When you talk about it talks about motives of an individual. Motives on the part of the individual personality. Of course, that goes with his needs, with his external appearances. That the way how do you present yourself, or your strong motive, towards that particular object, or your that psychological aspect, your attachment or detachment, your passion or lack of passion, or even your preparation in terms of plans with application of energy. If we fail to plan, we plan for our failure. Planning is a prerequisite of that any implementation, any process. So in that sense we are talking about, so the motivational orientation touching the very personality system of an individual's personality system. Not only that relies on utilitarian principle, purpose oriented action, utility based action. Ladies and gentlemen, so the situational constraints in terms of motives and values, motivational orientation, good. What about value orientation? You also parallelly get influenced by in terms of societal values, general guidelines to an action, even the norms, the specific guidelines to an action. So that deals with, that norms you strictly adhere. You are said to be in conformity because you are conditioned, you are socialized in such a way, you are institutionalized in such a way. Otherwise, you internalize the value of the system or norms of the system in such a way. So you don't want to be a deviant. You want to strictly adhere to. There comes the role of idealism, ladies and gentlemen. So where we are talking about, the standards of values, the aesthetics, even the morality, what is right, what is wrong of thinking, that this related to the cultural system, ladies and gentlemen. You got the idea now? So action occurs in three modes of organization. Action occurs in a situation. The behavior becomes action when meeting all these, when the situational constraints, maybe in terms of, value system, maybe in terms of the motivation on the part of an individual. But all individuals are goal oriented, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the point. So all individuals are no doubt, but the goal may vary, short term goal, long term goal, whatever may be. But all individuals are goal seeking actors. You understand? I am not speaking anything, that new in the name of subject matter called sociology. So it is just quantification of what's happening in your day-to-day life in a social situation. That is what you got various theories under various names. The social, that sociologist, that I'm sharing that information. It's no way different from your day-to-day activities, ladies and gentlemen. Something you are in touch with everyday life. Yes, this situational constraints, of course, that is what we spoke, the constrained by, governed by motives and norms and values. That's why you got motivational orientation and value orientation. We spoke at length. Not only that, what is action? So, that action is defined by Talcott Parsons. It is subjective decision of the actors. It is a subjective decision. It's not objective decision. What is right, you don't choose. What is right for you? That involves, that your personalization, your personal whims and fancies, your customization. Because as an individual, that you got choice in front of you. It is you decide your personal whims and fancies. That will be appropriate. So action is a subject, that it is not objective, subjective decision of what? Actor's choice, not somebody else's choice. Otherwise, you are getting influenced. If that is the case, it's not your choice. It's somebody else's choice. And most of the guys nowadays, studying engineering, somebody else, social pressure, parental pressure. Right? It's that way, ladies and gentlemen. So not by force. When you do it on your own, that is subjective decision. Yeah, it involves your own choice. Why? The choice of that, the means you choose accordingly. The means, effective means you choose, very well, so that you achieve the goals. Ladies and gentlemen, so according to Talcott Parsons, action is defined this way. It is nothing but subjective decision of an actor's choice of the means that accepted so as to achieve the goal. All individuals are goal oriented, target oriented, goal seeker. But that occurs in a situation in terms of goal, in terms of course, societal constraints, maybe, that values, norms, in terms of individuals' personal motives. There, that according to Talcott Parsons, a behavior becomes action. The normal tendency, we said, action becomes in the long run habit behavior. That is A to B. A to B, that's a hotel name. But here we are talking about B to A. Behavior becomes action. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. It is other way around. Keep in your mind, according to Talcott Parsons, a behavior becomes action. It is this way. The action is nothing but subjective decision of actor's choice of the means accepted, to achieve the goals. That's fantastic. I think it is right time. Let's take you to the next level. Okay, so the range of motivational orientation. Again, we are going to that take you to the next level. Next level of elaboration. Very well, all individuals are goal oriented, focused towards a goal. That happens in a situation. The constraints, of course, in terms of societal norms and values, maybe individuals' personal motives. Accordingly, you say, the value orientation or motive orientation. Cool. This range of motive orientation, what we are talking about, from personal individuals, that personal choices, personality sometimes, that involving that. So why you can divide in such a way? It occurs in three situations. What is said? This is according to Talcott Parsons. It appears very simple, the social system, social action, but you got very good elaboration that you please keep in your mind. It's very simple. Only thing you should not commit, that mistakes in facts. For that you can arrive at code. Let me say CCE, cognitive, cathartic, evaluative. So I'm talking about, it is MO, motivational orientation, where you got CCE. Cognitive, you know that cognizance means awareness. Cognitive skills, sometimes you know that ability to move, you know that we are talking cognitive skills on the part of the motor skills you would have learnt already, but here cognitive, cognizance, something related to that. What is the point here? Cog, you know that to understand the objectivity of the subject matter, something, you know, it talks about awareness. What is objective? What is the real purpose of that particular subject matter? Cathartic, that involves your emotions, that your approach, your attitude, your preference you show of the actor towards the object. And third, evaluative. Finally, you become judgmental. You go for evaluation. Why? It is called organized effort in realization of the object with optimum efficiency. You choose means in such a way so that you realize the goal. Here, in terms of, you know, that individual's motivational orientation, say for example, you are going to buy a Mercedes Benz, even say Rolls Royce. Let's consider this way, sir. Going to become a, yeah, of course, you know that as a governor you drive, you know, that Mercedes Benz. I think, you know, all governors given Mercedes Benz. Yeah, don't worry, you are going to reach that position. Yes, after your retirement at least. Ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. Even a lot of bureaucrats appointed, IAS, IPS officers, IFS officers. Even IFS officer became president. Dr. You know, Dr. K.R. Narayanan, you might be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. You go for buying, you know, that one Mercedes Benz. First, you gather information. So what is this? What segment you want? What variant you want? What is the cost? What are all the facilities available? What is the on-road price? What about support and service mechanism? What is the, you know, that resaleable value? Otherwise, whenever you go for, you know, the free service, how many years? Whenever you are, you know, that after that you go for service, how much amount you will be charged? You know, that charged. Will it, you know, how much money you have? So these are all the things, you know, that and how much money you have, don't come to that part. It is pure information about that, you know, what comfort, luxury you enjoy when comparing with other cars. The safety, you know, that of course, you know, that the air balloon we are talking about, and also, but here in Mercedes-Benz category, you don't talk about mileage, the aesthetic sense beyond that. All advanced electronics, GPS system, everything you talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, in what way? The comfort factor, everything, you know, it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the information, you try to understand the objective information about that car, cognitive aspect. Then you like it, either, you know, maybe this model you don't like it, because, you know, I don't know, you know, that some models in car I never like, I don't want to tell, and same way you too have that opinion. It's all personal whims and fancies, you can't question. So, you know, whether you really like it, you know, that whether you have liking towards that particular car, you know, so you know that, you know, this all parameters, you know, which you have verified, it is fantastic, and you have liking also. You love that car, love that particular, what color you are going to choose, then that goes with your, you know, that maybe your auspicious color, maybe astrologers or Panditji recommendation, or you feel, you know, very strong in that, you know, color, whatever may be. So your emotional attitude we are talking about, whether you like it or not. And there comes, you know, evaluation part, you know, that, so you know, that's fantastic car, but you have got liking. What about availability of resources? 100%, you know, that single settlement with which you are going to take the car. Otherwise, you are going to go for, you know, that a partial payment and loan, and maybe your taxation, all those mechanisms we are talking about. Otherwise, once you have a loan, you know, that no more comfort, no more happiness, ultimately, because you are running after, you know, that money lenders. So that eats away your, you know, that obligation part. As long as even to face that you are very comfortable, that's nothing. So you evaluation, you become judgmental, you take organized effort in such a way, whether to, you know, that talk to, you know, that technical experts, even to you consult your own friends who are already enjoying that particular car, using that service of the car, and also what are all the segments, you know, of other brands equivalent to that. Is it value for money? No, when you reach, you know, Mercedes-Benz, you won't be talking about value for money. It's next level luxury segment, that classic segment. No way bothered about money, but that's next level. It becomes conspicuous consumption also, showy reason. And in what way, whether to approach, you know, that finance or your own, you know, that maybe you convert your own capital into, you know, that your own, you know, that some asset into the capital to buy that, whatever may be. So all those means you try so as to realize the goal. This is what? So cognitive, cathartic, evaluative, part of this motivational orientation. from individual angle, personality system. That talks about cultural system also. So this is what example, individual visiting a car showroom to purchase a car. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you would have got it. This is one level of motivational orientation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. And in the line of, that sociologist, thinkers portion, after discussing Karl Marx, Max Weber, Emile Durkheim, today we are discussing, Talcott Parsons, especially Talcott Parsons' first contribution, of course, the social action. After discussing brief voluntarist theory of social action, that social that system, that theory we are going to discuss later also. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time. Of course, let me take you to another aspect of this social action theory. Here we are talking about value orientation. That hitherto we spoke about the situational constraints, how individuals' motive influences so as to achieve the goal. Now we are going to talk about the social norms and social values, especially that level of orientation. How? Here too you got, the code. So there we said CCE. Here I am talking about CAM. What is that? Cognitive, appreciative, and moral. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are very strong in these keywords, you will never commit mistakes. You just understand, then you apply. That's all. It becomes very simpler, ladies and gentlemen. And very, very important sociologists, that the part of thinkers, that you get question. And nowadays the questions, as I said, it has gone to that next level. Comparing, that over a particular topic, you are asked to compare with other sociologists, other thinkers. So you should be very strong in clarity over that topic, and also each and that every thinker's contribution over that, and differences, even criticisms. Ladies and gentlemen, it is fantastic. I think, what is this? So value and norms, how they are, that influencing your decision in the realization of the goal when you are oriented towards a particular goal, where that the behavior becomes action according to Talcott Parsons. First thing we are talking about the cognitive. Here talks about where the cognitive. We spoke about the awareness, information gathering about car. Here we are talking about cognitive validity of judgment, because in terms of social standards, what society will say? Hey, you are earning this much. Why you need this car? This is over, no? Why you pay this much interest? It's no more luxury. It is, after all, depreciating. For every year, it's going to be 30% deduction. After 3 years, you lose, your car value becomes zero. Maybe they are, marketing executives, they are simply bluffing here. So this sort of advice you get. Otherwise, what society, so you don't want, you're not a simple man. You want to project yourself, that the conspicuous consumption theory of Wilfred Pareto. So others will hesitate to talk to you, that the way with which you show off, all these things ultimately, the society giving you, otherwise in the name of your elders, the value system, the validity judgment, that you start evaluating in terms of societal values and norms. Not only that, so appreciative, act as judgment based on emotional response to the subject and its appropriateness and consistency. Then ultimately you start evaluating the moment you get feedback from values and norms of the society. I'm not bothered. Otherwise, that I take these points. Of course, like looking glass self theory, you get that feedback, then ultimately you appreciate, you become appreciative. Thanks for telling me. If I would have bought, otherwise probably I would have put, that even your, what year, so maybe this guy is working some corporate, hey, your boss, of course, even Ratan Tata, they're very fond of running the Civic. Hope you are aware. But in that company, when guy is working, if he goes by Mercedes-Benz, you just imagine, it looks odd like that. It is that way. He realizes the simplicity as the core part. Otherwise, the quality of the person is not decided by the size of the car in which he is sitting. There comes statement, another statement. Your car is not the representative device of your character. Rather, that's what in Tamil, echattar kanapadum. Takkar, Tagavilar, Enbardam, Echattar Kanapadam. Not by your, all those, that luxurious amenities, show-offs. What I find morning, all these things will change. What's going to be long-lasting value system? There comes another angle also. So you ultimately, evaluate all, whether to go according to your this whims and fancy, or to take into account the value system of the society. Want to be simple, austere, humble. And given the fact, right, even, that very Ratan Tata, I hear this information once he advised, I don't know whether it is true or not, probably if you are aware, thank you. And the very Ambani was advised, Mukesh, that especially in the very close to Dharavi slum, the Asia's largest slum, you built this much, a big, that much storied a luxury building. That's not good. And given the fact that talks about India's widening social inequalities, we hear that story also. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So it's unbecoming like that. But of course, in corporate world, corporate social responsibility, that's totally different scenario. It's up to the decision on the part of an individual. There we are talking about next one, moral. Then finally, you commit yourself to the value. The value system, of course, to be a role model to others, to inspire. That's what even Dr. Ambedkar was. That once asked that question. What Dr. Ambedkar, Bhima Rao Ambedkar, that one of the, of course, drafting committee chairman he was, and the Dalit, great leader of Dalit community, very well. See, you are representing Dalit community. Your Dalit people are without food, without the proper dress. How come you can go with this, that full Westerner dress? The people question. Then he said immediately, yeah, I want to be role model for my people. I want to be role model for my people, right? Let me wear. They can also work. They can also reach my level. It's not getting, that inferiority complex ultimately, that. So I won. I reach this level. You can also reach that level. I become source of inspiration or symbol of inspiration to my community. That is what his justification. It has got its own valid point, actually, ladies and gentlemen. Because Mahatma Gandhi chose that the dresses, and how the round table conferences, even that the Winston Churchill, I don't like to speak with that half naked fakir. That is the remark, derogatory against our great Mahatma Gandhi ji. Are you aware? Mahatma Gandhi's simplicity. Later he understood, right? It is that way. Fortunately, that the very British administration saved Gandhi, but after independence we lost Gandhi. That's totally different scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. It is up to you to take into account what sort of value system. There comes your the value commitment towards a particular object. So in terms of societal values and norms, it talks about the which sort of values that you subscribe, adhere to, the validity you analyze. Then of course that you are appreciative, the act as judgments, your own emotion that towards the particular value system or norms of the society, and what is appropriate and what is consistent for a particular that situation. Then finally you get committed to a particular the value system in realization of that particular object. All individuals are oriented towards a particular task or goal. When they are oriented towards a goal or task, they've got constraints in terms of that societal norms and values, even the personal motives on the part of an individual. Their behavior becomes action. It could be value orientation or that motivational orientation. Motivational orientation, we spoke CCE, cognitive, cathetic, evaluative, whereas here we are talking about that the value orientation, CAM, especially cognitive, appreciative, moral. Ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing about that structural functionalism, that especially under the Talcott Parsons, the modern American structural functionalist. Ladies and gentlemen, especially we are discussing social action. Yes, so here we can talk about example, the role of the status of son or status of that the daughter in patriarchal or matriarchal society. You just imagine the son in the matriarchal society, how he will be, because the son, of course, here in matriarchal society, women dominated society. Of course, the Nair Tharavad we had earlier, but now not now. Of course, it's changing. But that in the patriarchal society, how the very daughter is treated. That's why we are talking about gender justice. Ladies and gentlemen, well, the equal status for women and all. Here you find reason. That definitely, you can apply that way, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, the very action, according to Talcott Parsons, also called as instrumental. That particular action may be acting as a means in realization of the goal. Sometimes action expressing, that your motives. Maybe that, as I said, that your emotional aspects, whatever may be. Sometimes the actions based on the social norms and values, moral action. Action also can be classified this way: instrumental action, expressive action, moral action. Ladies and gentlemen, so it's apart from that, what we talk, both motivational orientation and value orientation, though they are interlinked, they are independent also. No individual without society. and individuals also, they're constrained by societal norms and values. Got the idea, na? They are interlinked. Of course, they are independent because the individual's motive, personal motives, totally different from the societal norms, groups norms. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way we are talking about. So they are interlinked as well as the independent. So both motivational orientation, value orientation put together called addressing the situational constraints of social action theory of Talcott Parsons, where behavior becomes action. According to Talcott Parsons, all individuals are goal oriented, focus towards a goal or target, but that occurs in a situation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is right. I think it is right time. Let's move to the next information, of course. The structure of social action. That's what, apart from voluntaristic theory of social action, he elaborates in structure of social action theory, especially in 1937, where he emphasizes the underlying unity in the contributions of Vilfredo Pareto and Emile Durkheim, and also the Max Weber idealism, and Durkheim's, very well, the positivism. Wilfred Pareto, of course, that we talk about utilitarianism. The very utilitarianism where we also spoke, that Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, based on all these isms, he, that understood the underlying unity, based on that, and, that he gave the grand theory of social system. His theory is called grand theory of social system. Why? On the basis of his analysis over all these isms, he found one underlying unity that he explained in terms of, that voluntaristic theory of social action. Ladies and gentlemen, so now it is right time we are entering into another contribution called social system, especially under the title Grand Theory of Social System of Talcott Parsons. That it is here where he talks about the structure responsible for the formation of system. And if you want to ensure the very survival of the system, what are all the prerequisites? The almost like basic needs of the society without which a society cannot, survive. He talks about if a social system or society is to survive, what are all the prerequisites? There he talks about the model called AGIL, adaptation, goal attainment, integration, latency. And also, that their nature, external, internal, and in terms of their, that whether it is means or end, like that we are going to discuss. Not only that, as I said in the beginning, each and every individual has got choices. The choices provided by the society. Whenever you orient yourself towards a particular task, you got choices, whether to choose this or that. That dilemma, according to, that very Talcott Parsons, they are otherwise called pattern variables. I said each and every society, when you call system, the structure plus function is said to be system. The structure, in its functioning, a system is born. The structure, social structure. What do you mean by structure? The structure may be, in terms of micro level, interrelationship, existing among social statuses and social roles bound by, that norms and values. Maybe you call within an institution, any social institution, maybe marriage, family, education institution, economic institution, political institution. But when you address at the macro level, very social structure can also be defined in terms of interrelationship existing among various social institutions, various subsystems of the society. By properly coordinating, you ensure the survival of the society. So a structure in its functioning. What do you mean by function? The social consequence of that particular structure. What sort of social consequences? It consists, that if you ask me, objective, observable, not subjective disposition. That is what social function definition. Even Archimedes will be elaborating about it. Whatever may be, the structure in its functioning, a system is born. That is what called social system, otherwise society. Where he recognizes that structure in terms of 4 types of structures. He himself gives example where he brings, that ultimately the structure, as I said, the structure, that may be in terms of statuses and roles. Here he talks about the statuses in terms of ascriptive nature, achieve nature. The status, the social position of an individual is otherwise called status. That status could be status given to you or the status you earn in your lifetime. The status given to you may be ascribed status. The status you earn in your lifetime may be achieved status. The status given to you may be your gender status, maybe your age. But the status you achieve may be your level of education, your wealth. So on the basis of ascribed status and achieved status, not only that, that the value system you believe in, whether you want to believe particularistic value system or universal value system, Particularistic value system. Maybe you appreciate Dravidian culture. It is particularistic value system. Maybe you appreciate Gujarati culture, whatever maybe Marathi culture. This is not particularistic value system. But maybe Indian culture, particularistic value system. But you want to embrace the global standards, the peace, the recognition of the individual fundamental right, the scientific temperament, the women justice. It is that way. The environmental principles. These are all universalistic values. So when you consider parochial values, it will be wrong to say parochial, narrow-minded. The particularistic values, or the universalistic values, or in terms of the statuses you belong to. Of course, the Talcott Parsons talking about the combination of all, the status system and the value system, maybe universalistic or particularistic. Status may be aspired, achieved, put together. He that himself gives 4 types of social structure he identified in the American society, and he himself gives examples for that. So when he recognizes the structure, definitely the structure in his functioning, a system is born. Of course, all these things you come to know, especially in his contribution, the Talcott Parsons contribution, the grand theory of social system, ladies and gentlemen. This is the thing we are talking about. I think so. We spoke already: actor, goal, the conditions, the situations we are talking about. Here, the pattern variables, the choices available in front of an individual. That we are going to discuss the dilemma faced by individual, provided by the society, and also the very Talcott Parsons, talking about society moving from community to Gesellschaft, community to society. Otherwise, here you talk about particularistic value system to that universalistic value system you choose. Of course, here he addresses the type of structure you choose. This is what the structure part of the system, social system. Of course, this is the right time. Let me take you to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, social system consisting of plurality of actors. You can ask me, sir, what is social system? Okay, sir, you said simple formula. What is that formula I gave? Structure plus function. This is simple formula. Ladies and gentlemen, over. Structure in its functioning, a system is born. Over. But what is real definition according to Talcott Parsons, sir? Yeah, please. It becomes responsibility of mine. Okay, social system consisting of plurality of all actors interacting directly or indirectly with each other in a bounded, maybe the physical or territorial situation, where all individuals are oriented towards a common goal or interrelated, maybe that a focus they may have. This is what the definition. Especially, the definition I said, Talcott Parsons. Of course, Talcott Parsons subscribing, it's available even in the sociological dictionary. I told you, advanced dictionary of sociology, Duncan Mitchell. It is available as per Talcott Parsons. And let me apply example here. Social system, of course, you apply society is clear-cut example of social system, because society is a system. That's what structural functionalism views society as a system, where plurality of actors, because it is not single individual in the society. You got multiple individuals. More than 7 billion population we are talking about. It's not you don't interact with all members of the society. Hello. Some people you interact directly, otherwise that you also interact with the rest of the people also. How? Because you share common value system. Maybe the whole society can be classified in terms of gender, male, female. We are part of one group. Maybe in terms of class, upper class, middle class, lower class, over. Maybe in terms of that education, social category. Maybe in terms of that nation. Maybe in terms of the ideology that we are wedded to. Yes. So we also interact with the rest of the members in the society, of course, by becoming a signatory to a particular that multilateral treaty. Of course, as Indians, we share the common values with the rest of the world. Maybe in the international organization, of course, the 75th that anniversary. Of course, it is right time to quote the United Nations organization, where our Prime Minister Modi ji also spoke and emphasized the structural reform to be more relevant to the global reality, where in international organization also that all Indians indirectly interacting, especially through our delegated representatives, the virtual interaction our Prime Minister had. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the interaction could be direct or indirect with each other, but it may happen in bounded environment, because you represent your nation. Your nation is a community where people are there, territory there, There will be we feeling. Of course, we as Indians, we got strong we feeling. It happens in a bounded environment. Yes, the society, but when that it may be community feeling we are talking about. When you take into account the whole society, this community feeling may be very loose. But of course, we try to bring that particular community feeling also at the level of global international institutions, international systems, in terms of Millennium Development Goals, in terms of Sustainable Development Goals, in terms of United Nations Organization, other agencies, even World Health Organization, even international, financial institutions, or International Code of Justice, Food and Agriculture Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, even that International Labour Organization, that it's binding on all member nations. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So we try to bring that community feeling at the greater level too. Peace, amicable living. The peace brings economic development that ultimately takes care of domestic interest. We talk all these things, ladies and gentlemen. Let's apply here. It is that way. All individuals are bad. Very well. All individuals are oriented towards a particular common goal, particular focus, interrelated focus. So do you understand? In a social system, individuals are no doubt, but society is more than individual. You will understand, because this is structural functionalism. That Talcott Parsons, no doubt system theorist, where that individuals, that behavior becomes action. The individual is oriented towards a goal that occurs in a situation, the bounded environment where it qualifies the system. Ladies and gentlemen, you understood. Of course, even that action, behavior becomes action in three modes: CSP, cultural system, social system, personality system, bespoke. You understand, once you understand the concept, it becomes very easier to appreciate this definition of Duncan Mitchell, that as given by Duncan Mitchell about, that the very Talcott Parsons, the conception of the social system. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, it is right time, that utilitarianism, of course, as I said, Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, Wilfredo Pareto, you take into account, here, pleasure is better than pain. In Tamil, we say Sogavasi, comfort-loving people. Of course, all, you would have watched movie Troy, Achilles, wine and dine culture. Even the Socrates, always will be with, that the one pig with ladies. The pleasure is better than, that sophisticated living. Of course, we are talking about pleasure is better than comfort-loving people. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, utility. Of course, the pleasure is better than pain. You choose pleasure in place of pain. Not hardworking people. Love pleasure, love comfort. Utility is the greatest happiness of greatest number. Their goal will be maximization of that, that happiness. Will it give me more happiness? I am not talking about the greater level of happiness, what we are talking about. Even gross national happiness, talking about, are you happy? That happiness talks about the extreme level of maturity. It's not talking about your mere personal happiness at the cost of others. At any cost, you want to be happy. It's not talking about your self-determined, individualistic notion of happiness. It's a happiness, that percolates down to everybody. The whole situation, the whole people are happy. You are also happy. Otherwise, you are the stakeholder for that, gross national happiness. That's greater level I'm talking about. But here it's parochial level. The individuals, that it is selfish motive, pleasure loving, pleasure seeking. The utility, of course, that. So the very utilitarianism emphasizes the goal of human beings, all human beings, for the maximization of utility, maximization of the happiness. But, this view he analyzed. But here also we talk about from Jeremy Bentham to, John Stuart Mill, how the qualitative, the quantitative happiness becomes qualitative happiness. Probably in ethics, you will learn more about it. Yeah, of course, it is right time. So the very Talcott Parsons got exposed to this, and also moral rules which encourage the behavior which can increase the pleasure and reduce the pain. So, he analyzed thoroughly this very utilitarianism principle. Of course, pleasure is the guiding force. That is what the core principle of utilitarianism. Of course, we say Jeremy Bentham, English utilitarians we are calling pleasure is the guiding force of that particular philosophy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, in the beginning, before he arrives at the, the contribution, he analyzed all the world isms, and especially to give grand theory of social system. The first one, utilitarianism, we are elaborating. I think, yes, the social systems as products of rational impulses of the human beings or individuals to integrate their needs and urges in orderly system. Otherwise, that here you have to understand social system, it's nothing but it's a product. The product of what? The rational impulses of the human beings, where you're talking about the individual's actions or individuals, that integrate their needs, the societal needs and urges. Otherwise, here he recognizes structure. The social structure in terms of various individuals' statuses and roles, and also talking about the individual's participation in that particular structure. Probably it talks about the functioning of that particular structure here to qualify the concept called social system. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the way. This is what social science. I want you to convert that social science almost like mathematics. In every definition, you got formula. This is how you arrive at keywords. In every definition, you can take a formula. Ladies and gentlemen, that demands your understanding. If you understood thoroughly, you can arrive at. If you give me one paragraph, I'll give you one liner. If you give me one great article, I'll give you one liner message. This you develop, this is what you do in essay. This is what that you do when you go through editorials. You take two paragraph, two liner over. But to communicate you, if I communicate, two liner, you may not understand. That demands us to give, a few more lines. That's totally different scenario. This is how, while taking notes from paragraph to one message, while elaborating in essay, this one liner message is elaborated, that in terms of paragraphs. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what if you do that, understanding or referring different books and taking notes out of, that, then especially for the sociology purpose, becomes very simple process. This is what I did in front of you. For every concept, you got a formula. I want you to identify the formula. That is very easy. That demands your thorough understanding of basic concepts, so that you link whatever may be the definition, you convert that into simple formula. It is highly possible. I did. Hope you can do it. I think I'm sharing the technology in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is right now. Let me take you to the next level. Yes, social systems. Social systems based on compatibility of interests. Through various definitions of social system you encounter, ladies and gentlemen. Compatibility of interests, that it's not talking about conflict. Compatibility, consensus, people come and agree over the interests, the common interests, right? So especially how? Through contractual mutuality, people mutually agreeing over that compatibility of interest. It is not, you don't encounter some sort of the conflicting situation, contradictory situation. We all agree. That's why even in the preamble of the Constitution, we do hereby adopt, enact and give ourselves to this Constitution on this day, the 26th November. This is what we said. The Constitution is supreme. The Constitution says people are supreme. Even the Council of the Parliamentary Democracy, where we are talking about the collective responsibility, the union ministers are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. That thing is the heart of the parliamentary democracy, the collective responsibility. Of course, to the Lok Sabha, People's Sabha, that ultimately, this is according to the Constitution. Of course, here also you find the conflicting situation between President of India and Supreme Court. Who is the custodian of the Constitution? Of course, President of India. The protect, uphold. Even the Supreme Court overlaps to some extent. But the role of Supreme Court to interpret, even the judicial pronouncements becoming law. You talk about, that's a debate actually. It is that way. So we all agree over the common, the rules and regulation. Of course, we call law. Values becoming norms, norms getting documented, formalized as law. As bills discussion, private bill, public bill, then ultimately it becomes act, bill, law, act. You talk about, of course, law, the Constitution. We all come and agree, abide by, strictly adhere to. It is a contract. It is a contractual mutuality where we see the compatibility, the compatibility of interests. All Supreme Courts, all judge, the judiciary mechanism simply interpreting. Anybody is contradicting, anybody is violating, anybody going beyond that. Otherwise, sometimes, the judgment, the review also we do, judicial review. We go for amendments when there is, that obsoleteness on the part of, any law. We update. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, the social system, of course, when you talk about India, of course, it may be Indian society. It's otherwise called Indian community. The community is a clear-cut, the definition for Indian society. But let me treat subsystem of the whole system called society, the Indian society, which has got its own compatibility of interests, agreed principles. especially the contractual people all come and agree over the constitution. Like, it's not only that in Indian society community level you can speak, you can also say we agree over what sort of policy we should have, what sort of market system we should have. You got parliament to decide the delegated legislation, our own, that representative indirect way of, that election we are talking about. The representative democracy we have in such a way, we decide what sort of polity we should have, what sort of market system we should have. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way we are talking about. Not only that, the highly individualistic fashion, the neglect of the roles of values, only emphasize the individual's rational choice and miss the collective. That Parsons deadly against, that this utilitarianism. Why? Because the utilitarianism is all about maximization of happiness on the part of an individual. It is highly individualistic fashion. It is completely neglecting the role of values. Of course, you be happy at the cost of a speedy driving, the luxury cars ultimately killing, especially the drunk. Of course, that you hear, that the elite people, especially in the metropolitan cities, when they go for, party in the night, of course, discotheque, party system, ultimately, the heavy drunkards they become ultimately. Otherwise, they take to, even the Bollywood is accused now in terms of the drug. The Bollywood is not free from the blame of drug, very well. And, after this, Sushant, you come to know a lot of bad sides, bad picture about, that. But of course, it's not free from that accusation also. And at the speedy driving car, after that, the intoxicated, level, all those, that the players, how they behave. And, a lot of movies also you witness. I think John Abraham, I think Lolly, the John Abraham you would have watched. And what is that? The pavement dwellers ultimately, that's another, bad side. The India's underdevelopment, when you see that, pavement dwellers, the urban slum poverty we are talking about. That's a matter of concern. Government is trying to fix it. Urbanization, urban development programs, their urban investments, urban focus, smart city campaign, well. So it is that way. So the speedy driving car killing the pavement, that dwelling people or sleepers ultimately, that brings to the court. Your happiness here at the cost of the value system. You compromise not to kill, not to harm. You lost your balance because of intoxication. You got your own personal, but who gave you authority to kill innocent civilians, that sleeping in the pavements because of their personal reason, maybe their own poor economic situation. Maybe migrant people, that, before settling in a particular city, maybe sleeping in the pavements, whatever may be. So this happiness of utilitarianism is all about highly individualistic fashion, but neglection of the role of values. It only emphasizes the individual's rational choice and miss the collective value system. That is why Parsons deadly against this utilitarianism, he rejected outrightly. But having analyzed utilitarianism, this is Parsons' opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Not only that, so the positivism, that of Agassiz, of course, later Emile Durkheim joined this, the founder of positive tradition. You can see both Agassiz, of course, the elaboration by Emile Durkheim we spoke. Positivism is all about applying the methods of natural sciences for making study over a society. Any statement which could not be verified becomes meaningless. They are talking about, empirical stature, that show me proof attitude. It may not be possible in society. You can't give proof to everything. There comes accusation ultimately, right? Can I ask you, give me your 50% of, can you please give me your 100 grams of passion? Can you ask your moms, that what sort of benevolence you show to your kid? Can you please give me 50% at least? Because my another sister is running short of it. Can you say that way? Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So positivism, that of course Agassiz, Emile Durkheim we are talking about, any statement could not be verified, becomes meaningless. That's what, because empirical world, show me proof attitude, observation, experimentation, verification, hypothesis. So the belief that social actors have complete knowledge of the social system and leaves no room for errors on the part of actors. Because you talk about in scientific world, you talk about, the preciseness, flawlessness. You can't do the same experiment in the social laboratory called society. The variation, because that the rational, the very random behavior on the part of individuals, variation among actors and role of value system, you have to take into account, because that. But whereas the scientific world, the positivism expects you to be objective, value neutral, free from prejudice, free from bias, free from speculation. How come? It may not be possible. So, that Emile Durkheim studied positivism also parallelly. And also, that he took into account, idealism. That may not be, positivism may not be possible. He rejected positivism. That may be true for scientific world. In social world, it has got its own limitation. There is room for error. To err is a human being. You should know how to deal with imperfections in life. We are not always, that perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, to err is human being. Forgive and forget. Even in Tamil, there is, that kunam nadi, kutramum nadi, avattrul migai nadi mikka kolal. It is not possible to, that to expect people with, that 100%, that the straightforwardness or idealism. Somewhere, life is all about, full of imperfections, but you should know how to appreciate. It's not perfect word, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fractured word also for your kind information. But even in that fracturedness, you get opportunity to set right things. That you should think that way as an optimist. It's not blaming the situation like pessimist, ladies and gentlemen, but you should know how to deal with that perfection. Instead of blaming, instead of rejecting, you take this as an opportunity or responsibility to set right things. That's totally different scenario. So that is why that pessimism talking about, that objectivity, no room for error, that is why rejected. Otherwise, no space for value system, because society has got value system. It's not possible. There ultimately, not only that, the third thing, of course, idealism. Here, mind, your own psyche, mind plays a key role in the constitution of the world. As it is experienced, the most radical form is rejected and is equivalent to, that solipsism. What is solipsism? The all reality is nothing but the activity of one's own mind. And the reality is nothing exists. In reality, nothing exists but one's own, that self. Partially you can accept in the world of, idealism. All these, establishments we have in the world, it's no doubt it's outcome of reality. The outcome of the ideas, the very reality, outcome of the ideas we accept. But the point is, that it's too ideal, that it's not mere ideas to implement in practice. You got more than that. That's even Karl Marx countered. You need material resources, infrastructure to make it, realistic, practical. No doubt, we understand the space for ideal, of course, ideas. But apart from that, other factors also. Even George Berkeley, talking about true ideas of the external objects are caused in human mind. So otherwise, that how it came to the human mind. Transcend, go beyond, transcendental, the God's, of course, spiritual way of looking at things. The God's idea, knowledge came to him. Otherwise, you hear smriti, shruti, that remembered something that came in your dream, you started doing. You heard God saying, Prophet Muhammad says, God saying, hear, shruti, smriti, you hear. The God communicated through human beings that way, in dreams. Sometimes you remember, sometimes you hear directly. The belief system takes you that way. So it is equivalent to that. That ideas, of course, all reality is equated with ideas of, human minds. That mind, of course, it is governed by, that the another theory. Of course, it is equivalent to solipsism. Otherwise, George Berkeley, taking that, linking with spiritual world. Even the Immanuel Kant, of course, the founder of this, idealism, this is apart from Hegel's version I'm talking about. Even Hegel also spoke about idealism. Ideas are responsible for the change in the world. We spoke already for every thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Immanuel Kant, that where you come to know the fundamental principles of all science are in the constitution of mind rather than being derived from the external world. From mind to external world. Maybe here, that as I told you, everything, but for motivating you, we say something that's different, but subject is different. Ladies and gentlemen, what social scientists said, that in what way it has been countered by Talcott Parsons, what way you are going to meet the question, you please stay with the spirit. Don't get confused with motivational stuff. In motivational stuff, we said everything is here to motivate you. Nothing from outside, everything from inside. It is inside out, not outside in. Don't get confused. But here, according to Immanuel Kant, of course, here, that it's almost like that motivation stuff. Here, equating, here, Immanuel Kant, fundamental principles of all science are the constitution of the mind. Someone's idea came from someone's mind. Rather than being derived from external world, it is countering, that George Berkeley opinion. It's not coming from, that's why people say the idea, the greatest knowledge is universe. Of course, what, the movie you watch, Lucy, the 100%, that the enlightenment, of course, the whole light, that lady is nowhere. In the mobile, there comes message, I am everywhere. The pure light, enlightenment you call God. Sometimes knowledge is called God, they call love. The love is called God, knowledge is called God. Service is called the God. Of course, it is otherwise the various paths of reaching God. That spiritual world, of course, that's fantastic. But the point is here, so that it's not from external world, from mind to the external world. Maybe here external world, he means the reality, the manifestation. Got the idea? It's that way. So Immanuel Kant this way. But it's here, we are also bringing Hegel here. Highest achievements of human spirit. That is culture, science, religion, even the state, what you talk about, are conceived and sustained by dialectical activity. Even the Karl Marx, we elaborated this, gentleman. What is dialectical activity? For every thesis, antithesis. But during, that antithesis time, that's the thesis. But later comes another thesis to counter that. Whatever may be, the cycle, he says, for every thesis, antithesis, then synthesis. One contradicting another. One idea is encountered by another idea. Strongly resisted by, another idea. That is what reality in the world. So ideas are responsible for the change in the world. That's what Hegel, but young Hegelian, Karl Marx subscribed this view. Later Karl Marx, departed, that from that particular principle. He said, in place of ideas, material resources responsible for the change in the world. The materials, of course, we are talking about, that to have ownership over, material resources, there comes exploitation, there comes class conflict, the struggle because of that, change from one society to another. That's Karl Marx's version. He also practiced this dialectical method, that's called dialectical materialism. But whereas Hegel's version, dialectical idealism. Dialectic means study of contradictions, one opposing another. See, according to Hegel, highest achievements of human spirit, that is culture, whatever you call culture, science, religion, the state, are conceived and sustained by dialectical activity. How? The arguments, debates, discussions, finally you reach conclusion. But for some time later, that also, that undergoes a question, debate. Even Adi Shankara converted the whole India into Hinduism by entering into, debate with, Buddhist monks. He converted the whole India into the Hinduism, in the religious sphere, an argumentative Indian. Even Amartya Sen, that subscribes that view. We are highly talkative, argumentative. That's good. It's not only we Indian, the whole world, of course, why? One idea opposing another. As I said in the beginning, the earth-centered system, the geocentric theory. The geocentric theory we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is that way. So, the geocentric theory, later it becomes, the heliocentric theory. Sun-centric theory we are talking about. It is that way. So, and not the result of, that naturally determined process, that in the mind. It is that way we are talking about, and not the result of the naturally determined process in the mind. Got the point? It is dialectic activity. Of course, whatever may be, it's not naturally determined the process in the mind. It is that way you take into account. See, even in the idealism, how people are differing, this is, that right situation. But, that here, that comes, that very Talcott Parsons. I think I'll be taking you to the next level. Of course, that up to, I'll be taking some more time up to, that 5 o'clock, that you will be with me, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you understand. That's what the agenda. 2:32, that 5. That's the discussion, ladies and gentlemen. People who already attended, even if it is going to be more, no problem at all. The very purpose we are staying within, it has to solve the purpose. We have to finish Talcott Parsons, and the very purpose of communication you should have understood. And if you that if you got any queries also, parallel you can type all your questions, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So what is this? The social system we are discussing from the perspective of, that structural functionalism, especially by Talcott Parsons. Ladies and gentlemen, the American structural functionalist. Welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. 1 second, please. Yes, idealism places too much emphasis on values and ideas, but not enough on social practices, pragmatism. This is what. So Weber never said, even Max Weber never said that the Protestant ethic and spirit of the capitalism, that the spirit caused capitalism, but elaboration at length, got the that he said causal pluralism approach. That's what Max Weber practiced. There are so many events, so many causes responsible for the success of capitalism. The religion became one among the causes. That's why Max Weber's contribution was appreciated as, celebrated as causal pluralism approach. Many causes, causal pluralism. Yes. So even he never said, one to one. So it is not the, that straight away the Calvinism is responsible, but one of the reasons it is that way. So, but elaboration at length. Here, idealism, that what happens, that's what accusation. Neglecting the role of needs, the search for utilities, but emphasis over values, ideas, and missing out the pressures exerted on values by experimental reality and persons. That's what the point, that the Parsons, Talcott Parsons completely, that criticizing this particular, that in what way? Too much of, the premium on values and ideas, not and practice. Preaching good, practice, I'm sorry, is that way. Okay, so even, that the Max Weber, that is not one to one, one of the causes like, that the role you have to understand. The neglecting the role of needs and search for utilities, even emphasis over values and missing out the pressures exerted on values by empirical reality. Sometimes even all this value system part of the society undergoing phenomenal shift, phenomenal change. That even the scientific principles, objectivity, questioning ultimately, as we people ask, come on, show me, where is God? Kids are asking, I don't believe God. Come on, you are very pious, devotion, devotee. Show me God. Then of course I have to take asylum, my own forefathers, that are you alive? Yes. Come on, if you're alive, where is your soul? Give me your soul. Show me your soul. This is how my elders taught me. I am teaching them. So it will take some more time, to understand, that the body, soul, it is that way, it is that way, all those things, it's not questioning. It's up to you, but it's not forcing anybody. Got the idea? It's that way. Sometimes the show me proof attitude of the empirical world questioning the faith system. How come you can worship a stone? Of course. If this is your belief that there is no God, let me respect you. Let me agree with you. That you should accept. I can't force you. It's ethnocentric once again. I don't want to become judgmental. Let us agree to disagree. So what? I should not expect, you should have same opinion of mine. You can also have difference of opinion with me. But let me respect that opinion, ladies and gentlemen. If you do this, you are practicing sociological sense. This is way. Of course, the pressure on the very existing value system are ideas. So Talcott Parsons against idealism. Ladies and gentlemen, so far you would have understood how utilitarianism, even, the very positivism, even the idealism, that idealism, UPI, got the point now? How it has been, after analysis, why Talcott Parsons rejected, that, and ultimately gave grand theory of the social system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about it. The rationale with which, he completely rejected. Yes. So, and I think, that, so it is done, and some more information according to Talcott Parsons, social system, which involves an interaction between two or more actors. The interaction process is the main focus. The interaction itself acquires significance. That, not only that, so the interaction takes place in a situation, as we spoke, the social media. So which implies, that other actors are altars. Of course, that that other actors you talk about, not altars. You take into account, of course, which changes, alters. Of course, other people are altars, no doubt at all. But this situation alters, that altars, that who are objects of emotion, which alters. Here, that you have to talk about. Got the idea, na? It is takvid. So altars, that otherwise objects of emotion. Through them, the goals are achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. The role of social situation is emphasized. Maybe in terms of value system, maybe in terms of your own motives. That's what, we already spoke. It's again elaboration. Two or more actors interacting in a particular situation. Interaction itself acquires significance. There we talk about that situation which implies actors and other players also. Got the idea now. Who are all objects of emotion Through them, the goals are achieved. Let it be. There exists a social system with collective goal orientation and common values. Otherwise, the consensus on that normative, that otherwise cognitive, intellectual senses. This is all how Talcott Parsons viewed the very social system in terms of definition. You can take into account, ladies and gentlemen. We already spoke at length. Of course, his own very words. I thought that I thought of exposing you. Please take it account. You understood the spirit anyway. Yes, there comes. You can ask me, as I told you earlier. The very that role is the point of intersection between social system and social action. That's the point. The role, according to that Talcott Parsons, is a mode of organization of action, because we already defined social role. Role is nothing but expected behavior of a particular status. As a teacher, you are supposed to teach. As a doctor, you are supposed to cure. As a lawyer, you are supposed to wow, that's your dharma. Because you have to uphold your client's dharma. Ladies and gentlemen, your professional, that ethics. I don't know. It is that way. It's not maligning anybody. Of course, I'm just kidding you. It is that way. So the role is the mode of, the organization of action. That social role is the basic unit of social system. Ladies and gentlemen, hitherto we spoke, the basic unit of society is family. But according to Talcott Parsons, social role is the basic unit of social system. Not only that, just now spoke, he also says role is the point of intersection between social, a system on the one hand. You just get the point now? So role is the point of intersection between system of social action of an individual actor and the social system itself. Otherwise, you say it's a point of interaction between social system on the one hand, social action on the other. You get my point of view? Here, the point of intersection, you say role, a role is born. In a bounded environment, you perform action. The individual's action becoming social action. Individual's behavior becoming action. How? When it is oriented towards a particular goal, it happens in the situational constraints, in terms of the value system, in terms of individual's personal motives. Accordingly, you choose means in realization of the goal, where a role is born. A civil service aspirant is your role in front of me now. It happens in a situation, bounded environment, that where you are performing, where you are part of that particular social action, all your behavior. Now you're listening to the class, it's your behavior, it becomes action, it becomes social action. How? It occurs in a situation. We have got rules and regulations, the time period, how you have to, how I have to, we are talking about. And your own motive, you appreciate, you reject, you get clarity, whatever may be, your application of energy otherwise. This happens. Now your role is born. Of course, you are aspirant. I'm your teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm your guide. You are my civil service aspirant. We are interacting. Of course, it is virtual interaction. That's totally different scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fantastic. We are in Talcott Parsons social system theory. So the role is a point of intersection between system of action of an individual actor and the social system. So it's between social action and social system, the point of intersection where role is born. Role is nothing but expected behavior of a social status. Well already, we discussed in the basic concepts videos. Not only that, the role, that the very role, social role we are talking about, according to Talcott Parsons, that is the basic unit of any social system. The role always comes out of status. Role and status, they go together. Two sides of a single coin. You get role out of status. Otherwise, you can never see role free from status. If at all you talk about status, there will be role. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we spoke at length. So the primary element of role is the role expectation. Of course, because of that role, you expect something. Society expects you to discharge your duties in such a way. Not only that, Parsons' concept of social system can be applied to the study of both simple primitive societies as well as modern complex industrial societies. You have to understand that's a flexibility on the part of the Talcott Parsons contribution. Though that both American sociologists, both Talcott Parsons, R.K. Merton, that focus primarily on modern American industrial society, but this particular concepts, all these concepts given by Talcott Parsons can be applicable to both simple and the modern industrial advanced complex society as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. This is right time. Let me take you to the other concepts. Of course, what is that? AGIL. It is not the syllabus title, ladies and gentlemen. It is we evolve, so that you keep in your mind, that they won't ask you like AGIL model. For practical consideration, this that acronym, of course, AGIL, we have evolved in such a way. So what is that? According to Talcott Parsons, social systems have self-adjustive, self-maintaining quality internally through its boundary conditions. There are some functions without which a social system cannot subsist. They are called functional prerequisites. Functional prerequisites, otherwise they are called functional alternatives. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I say. As an individual, if you want to survive, you need all those: food, shelter, cloth. You call, the otherwise you call, what is that? The the very roti, kapda, makan you call. That ensures your survival. Basic needs. Government is very much preoccupied with this, as welfare nation. That's why the Manrega, everything, even free populistic measures are justified. Even green revolution got justified that way. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Yes. So in the society, if you want to ensure the survival of the society, you should have some functional prerequisites. What are all those? Without which you can never ensure survival. That is what, according to Talcott Parsons, ladies and gentlemen, where he talks about that agile, adaptation, goal attainment, and that integration and latency. That latency or pattern maintenance, tension management, adaptative function. How do you achieve? Through economic institution. All the resources meant for the society should be mobilized. Goal attainment through political institution, because every the government has got its own common agenda, common minimum agenda. Maybe in terms of political manifestos, they come to power and later they strive hard to honor that. In spite of that, they try to meet. Otherwise, they have to face another election, that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So the goal, the goals meant for the society is attained. Of course, it is at the national level, we spoke about political manifesto. At the global level, at the societal level, if you speak, maybe Millennium Development Goal, the Sustainable Development Goals, we evolved. Ladies and gentlemen, by 2030, we have to achieve. It is that way already from 2015 to the procrastination. Of course, we are prolonging, that, and given various issues, very well. It is that way. So adaptation, then goal attainment. You achieve the goal through support of political institution or national governments or through international institutions, through will of, that national governments. Then integrative function, of course, that you achieve through, that maybe here you can talk about your home ministry. The ensuring, law and order, mechanism. There should be order. There should be social integration. Otherwise, various social institutions taking part in such a way so that there comes, that social order in the society. And beyond that, the pattern maintenance. Society has got its own pattern, the value system, the culture. Even, that how that should be, that socialized. Maybe educational institution, even culture is responsible for that. Here you talk about latency or pattern maintenance or even tension management. So the social order you ensure through family, same thing getting replicated in the society, like family, like society, because family is the basic unit of society. But of course, in the recent definition, we said the social action theory, according to Talcott Parsons, role is the basic unit of social system. That's totally different. So it is that way through all these, that four AGIL. You understand, na? Agile model. With the support of, different kind of, that institutions you achieve. This is what. And also, that not only that, you also divide whether it is external. How do you mobilize, that which is external to the society or which is internal to the society. That taking care of social order or, that through socialization, culture, family, you ensure social order. This is all internal to the society. But something, that from external world you bring in, whether mobilization of resources, even achievement of political goals we are talking about, this is external. Not only that, you also call whether it is means or end. That you want to attain the goals meant for the society. For that, that the mobilization of resources becoming ultimately means, end to achieve the goal. Otherwise, you also talk about, this socialization becomes means so as to ensure social order at the level of society. In that sense, family culture becomes means, the very end. Of course, that social order at the level of society. Societal integration. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. Hope this particular diagram, the very Talcott Parsons, the diagram we are talking about. Of course, what is this? Of course, in terms of theoretical perspective, the very agile, that it talks about the basis of, that scope of functioning. On the basis of scope of functioning, is it functioning within the society, internal, or outside the society, external? Just now as we have seen, that I think, you can correlate, that internal, external, that the IL internal, AG external. In instrumental means AL. In consummatory or end, GI or IG. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. I think in this diagram clearly explains. I want you to draw a diagram like this, the examination. So the evaluator, without reading, the moment he sees the diagram, straight away. I think you can use diagram, though it is social science. Wherever concepts, that are facilitating you, wherever possible, you please try to incorporate diagrams that conveys effectively. A picture is more than 1,000 words. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you understand. It is that way. Yes, it is that way. What is that? On the basis of scope of functioning, we said we divided the agile model as external, internal. On the basis of, that the nature of interaction, whether it is means, that instrumental means, or whether it is end, consummatory, on the basis of nature of interaction, we divided also the very agile into two parts accordingly. So, what is agile? Adaptation, goal attainment, integration, latency. They are all prerequisites to ensure, otherwise functional alternatives to ensure the very survival of the society, as you got basic needs for your survival. Ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat if you want, that the very definition, very well, generation and acquisition of resources from external economic institution. That's what we did. And goal attainment, as we did, you determine the goal and motivating and achieving the members so that to realize the goal. That's done through political institution at the national level, at the global level. As we have got, that sustainable development goals, even millennium development goals we had in the past, it is that way. Not only that, integration, the maintenance of solidarity, social order, especially that you achieve, that of course legal institution. Here we talk about, home ministry, that's responsibility. All police administration, everything they take care, take care, very well. It is that way. Later we are talking about, the latency, of course. What is this? This ensures the pattern of the society in individual through socialization, the inculcation of the value system through institutionalization, and ensures that individuals are properly internalizing through various agents of socialization. Of course, tension management. So it is done through socialization, where the role of, that your family, even your relatives, even the education institutions, very crucial. Ladies and gentlemen, so these are all functional alternatives, functional prerequisites, to ensure the survival of the society. Ladies and gentlemen, this is according to, the Talcott Parsons. I think, it is right time, let me take you, not only that, in the social system 1951, the contribution title, Parsons has made distinction between social system and social structure, because every society, every social system will have its own structure. The structure in its functioning, a system is born, where. This social system, of course, that manifested through totality of the principles through which roles are related to, through which roles and related elements of social interaction organized. You are talking about totality of the principles, maybe talking about status, role, and also the, the very rules and regulations involved, talking about, and through which roles are, that related, related elements of social interaction. That talks about functioning element. Ladies and gentlemen, so in a social system, you got structure as well as function. System is born. Over. Social structure reflects specific manner in which roles are in interaction. Specific manner in which roles, structure in interaction situation, configured, composed. This line talking about function. Ladies and gentlemen. So structure, of course, you talk about, otherwise let me put this way. We are talking about the static aspect of the society. Within, social system called society. Social structure, nothing but social, that static portion of the society, which reflects specific manner in which the roles are in interaction situation or configured or composed together. Of course, the social status addresses both status and role at the micro level. Otherwise, it may be talking about, that specific manner in which roles are in interaction. Here you are talking about subsystem of the whole system called, that social institution and its relationship. All these institutions are configured, composed together. Here at macro level, you talk about interrelationship existing among social institutions. There also you can talk about, that social structure. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you would have got enough, explanation because of this. And for example, family as a social system, but its structure in clustering of kinship roles, various statuses and roles forming structure and effective functioning of, that roles from the respective statuses, ensuring the survival of the system called family, otherwise subsystem of the whole system, otherwise family as social institution. Ladies and gentlemen, you would have got that point. This is right time. Let me take you to the next concept. I think, that of course it is right time. The structure comes in ultimately, that parallelly. AGIL we said, but here 4 types of social structure. AGIL is over: adaptation, goal attainment, integration, latency. They are otherwise called functional prerequisites. We spoke. Otherwise, functional alternatives. We spoke at length about it. I think that's over. In terms of AGIL model through various social institutions, we spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, it is right time. Parsons had, developed his systems theory, especially from the levels of action to the social system. The types of structures of the social system exemplified by Parsons, especially from empirical cases in society. Because for that, he took into account value system of the society, universal value, particular value, and also status pattern, achievement status pattern, or ascriptive status pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, on the basis of the value system you choose, the particular society chooses whether it is universal values or particular values, or on the basis of the nature of the statuses, whether it is statuses given to you, attributed to you, ascriptive or achieved, the statuses you earn, achieved, whatever may be. So he himself has given examples for those. So universalistic value system and achieved statuses, individual achievement, privacy is the value system of USA. Also they work towards, that human rights, all those stuffs, we have freedom, democracy. That's United States of America. It's not my example, ladies and gentlemen. So Talcott Parsons himself has given, that the very example for this structure. He identified 4 types of social structures. And universal values, of course, but ascriptive pattern, because status restricted to very Germans alone, Nazi Germany. Of course, Hitler. So that is, that ultimately second structure. Very clear-cut example, Nazi Germany, because it talks about that particular status pattern, that restricted to, the mere German people under Nazism. Then you go for particularistic value system. You don't embrace global standards. You got your own value system. Especially you talk about China. The family is the center of, that the Chinese culture. You might be aware. Family centered, and they got, that the closed system. Of course, they are not open for democracy. Of course, particularistic value system. The Politburo member controlling the very administration there, and within that system they want to achieve. They got class pattern. They generate resources. With that, now they are investing in the connectivity project, infrastructure project you call Belt Road Initiative, ladies and gentlemen. So you can achieve, that growth to one's own potential. That's what, where you talk about class system on the part of communist nation called China. So they have, that they've got their own closed version, that the communistic tendency, of whatever maybe you be calling. So that's restricted to China, particular value system, where family, that takes center role. Not only that, the very achievement pattern within the, the communist agenda, within the communistic pattern, within the communist, the country we are talking about. That's why you presence of classes within communist society. Of course, the very Marxism meant for establishment of classless communist society. That is the political goal of Marxism. But the version of Marxism, what you witness communist society, especially the China, communist China, is totally different. That's why you see the tampered version of Marxism in the multiple variants of Marxism in different parts of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about it that way. So, and also, that the Chinese particularistic value system. What do you mean by that? The family is the center of their culture, and apart from that, they respect elder people, ancestor worship. Maybe they are respecting their own elder. I think they are not respecting elders in India. The aggression going on. I think I've become ethnocentric now. I'm practicing ethnocentrism. I've become unsociologist now. It is unbecoming on the part of any sociologist. First of all, I'm not sociologist. I'm your guide. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. And also, that they never give, the equal status to women. The patrilineal tracing of origin through father's side. This is what the cultural pattern of, that the very China. That's why it's called particularistic. It's not universal. the human rights violation, the gender justice. It's a closed country, not opaque, non-transparent country, very well. And that's why that the communism works. That's why the people, otherwise even they know how to control the Tiananmen Square, even how they dealt with Hong Kong, very well, all these things. So this closed pattern, particularistic value system, and within that they talk about that mobility, that intergenerational, intragenerational mobility or class pattern. So it's unique pattern. The communist, the Chinese society, clear-cut example. It's not app given. This is according to Talcott Parsons. Ladies and gentlemen, Talcott Parsons talking about the structure part of the system called the society. He recognized on the basis of his own, that research, the empirical cases in society. He recognized 4 types of social structure. I'm just elaborating about it. And particularistic, value itself particularistic, and even the status also ascriptive pattern, especially the Spanish Americans, even the Indian caste system. We are talking about Indian caste system. It has got particularistic value system. That's why that with social distance, taboo, no that value for the individual potential. That's why social disability, where social mobility is 0, and status also that decided based on your birth. Actually, that through historical recorrection, thanks to Ambedkar and other social reform movements happen in India, different parts of India, and we corrected historically the people who got victimized because of the caste system through constitutional provisions, of course, reservation, where we are talking about, the various Article 15 within bracket 4, 16 within bracket 4, very well, Article 46, that even 275, Article 330, 348, of course, 5th schedule, 6th schedule of the Constitution we are talking about. So we've got various measures, even various national commissions to address those issues. National Commission on SC/ST, even National Commission on Tribes, National Commission on Women also, National Commission on Minorities, and even the general category reservation also 10% we have extended. So it is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So it is that way, Indian caste system, that can be equated with that. Spanish Americans, that according to Talcott Parsons, ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. 4 types of social structures Talcott Parsons recognized. Now the criticism against Parsons. Hello Talcott Parsons, the American structural functionalist, you are conservative thinker because your social theories could not explain social change. This is how you criticize. It is that way, of course, because for every thesis, antithesis, of course, each and every theory not free from criticism. Of course, let it be constructive in character. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, he has been criticized on this note. Conservative thinker could not explain social change because he is completely preoccupied with the notion called social order, society as a system, as which has got structure in its functioning, system is born. Even R.K. Merton will come later in another thinker, that anything which promotes functionally, anything which weakens that social order, dysfunctional. It's that way. So there is no place for social change or social conflict, partly because either he denied or he neglected the material interest, which in turn, the moment you talk about private property, definitely there will be vested interest, definitely there will be competition, conflict. I don't know how the American society, that too, the Talcott Parsons ignored this, social change and social conflict. That is on this ground we are talking about. So which in turn linked with fundamental cleavages in the social structure, the exploitative mechanism, rich trying to, that exploit the poor, haves trying to exploit the have-nots. Social classes, that not only that, social classes, that maybe the fundamental cleavages in the social structure, even in the social classes, the exploitative nature between the classes. Of course, the capitalist class, working class, the bourgeois, capitalist, of course, you talk about bourgeois, you talk about otherwise, working class or proletariats, you talk about. And Rolf Dahrendorf, that actually, that out of Utopia, where, that on this ground, that Ralph Dahrendorf, belongs to conflict school of thought, criticizing Talcott Parsons. It is that way. Not only that, even Anthony Giddens, especially in the book, that the title, Power, and Alvin Goldner, especially in the coming, the crisis of Western sociology, he criticizes, and even the David Lockwood, okay, in some remarks on the social system, even C. Wright Mills, that it is he who that gave introduced the sociology to American literature, very well. So especially his, the sociological imagination, all these people ultimately, criticizing Talcott Parsons as conservative thinker, not ready to, not explain, could not recognize, maybe out of neglection or, denial, the very social change or social conflict. Got the point? Otherwise, that everything is linked to the fundamental cleavages, the gap in the social structure, even the exploitative nature of the social classes. All these things, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. Not only that, the values and norms based preclusion. See, it's not conclusion, preclusion. You are prejudiced. So, a very Talcott person is accused that you are preoccupied. Ladies and gentlemen, you are prejudiced because you always, upholding value system, norms, without any proper understanding of the role of material resource. Of course, if you don't fulfill the needs of the people, if you don't eradicate poverty, who will take care of your law, the value system? There will be tendency to deviate more. That's why revolution, that's why protest. When the exploitation is sharper, people will come through. See, not only that, what happened here during, I think, that happens when the leader dying ultimately, that happened, during, when MGR died. So on the Mount Road, a lot of course, the people from other parts of India may not be knowing this. Some of you may be aware. After the MGR's death, of course, it is natural death, age-old death, by health condition, he died. Nobody assassinated him, you know the story. But what happened, that time, so the antisocial elements, even that happened in the United States of America, during, that racism, the George Floyd, that especially, I can't breathe, that the racism practice, what happened there, the USA. There also, public properties got looted. So it's a mob behavior ultimately. You can't control the mob. There are antisocial elements, they will wait for the opportunity, they will do that way. So what happens, right? So the role of, if you don't consider that effective role of material resources, in what way they are fulfilling the needs, whether they are based on justice, whether all the resources are properly distributed, whether people are happy in fulfilling their needs, maybe the prosperity of the nation is benefiting everybody or it's benefiting few people. Otherwise, is there any widening gap between rich and poor? There comes the role of government, especially under directive principles of state policy through Gandhian ideology, even welfare nation notion we are practicing. Otherwise, as paternalistic nation, as a father, that a nation takes care of the people. If you don't do that, what will happen ultimately? People will get disappointed, miffed, and they will come to the streets, they will protest, they will enter into revolution. That's what will happen. So that is why each and every government, very keen in mobilizing resources, whether in terms of foreign direct investments, even, the diaspora remittances we are talking about. That's why Prime Minister Modi ji, that running pillar to the post, different parts of the world, the diaspora diplomacy, economic diplomacy, yoga diplomacy, retail diplomacy, personal touch in the diplomacy. Why? Because, our India's GDP completely 50%, the role played by, that export import. FDI, remittances. So you have to mobilize resources for what? To address the budget deficit, to strengthen the manufacturing sector, to eradicate, the poverty, unemployment, to address all those social grievances. You understand? It's not simply, that one man going pillar to the post. You can also accuse it, you got your freedom, but you have to understand from that point of view, I'm not supporting anybody. I think, that it becomes unsociological in that sense. But in foreign policy, he is appreciated in terms of all the resources he brought in, mobilized. So that's moving from, from defensive mode to proactive role. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Why? The role of material resources. That is what, peace is a prerequisite of prosperity, no doubt. On that note, we accept structural functionalism school. But without, that prosperity, without economic resources, you can't bring peace. Even the centrifugal tendencies on the part of, that India, you call Naxalism, Northeastern insurgency, based on underdevelopment. Sometimes development itself pushing the people to the extreme poverty. So the effective role played by economic resources, ladies and gentlemen, the Food Security Act, everything we are talking about, and that even populistic measures, Manrega, the subsidy mechanism, direct benefit transfer, and taking care of microfinancing otherwise. The informal social sector where we are talking about even Atal Pension Yojana, everything. Why? You have to understand, all behind fulfilling the needs of the people. Only through tangible material resources you can make difference in the lives of the people, not by preaching, not by teaching. People will say, hey, reject, I don't want your ideas. Is it going to give me some money? Come on. In what way I benefit? If I'm not benefiting, why should I listen to you? That is what the mindset. Yeah. It's making no sense for them. We don't want, come on, they'll put this way. I don't want to listen to you. Come on, take care of my purse. You should understand, that the purpose, it is that way. It will take some more time for them, that understand the purpose. First, you resolve the hunger. You answer the hunger. Later, we can talk about, that the food for thought. Ladies and gentlemen, that works. So, how come you can outrightly reject? And also, that without proper understanding of role of nature, and also the technology itself dividing people. And even the social classes in shaping the social structure, the role of the material resources, and the role of technology, and the role of social classes, their vested interests, ruling class ideology in preservation of their own status in the social structure. So Parsons that had difficulty in explaining the violent social change. Ladies and gentlemen, that so he was preoccupied with that particular notion, even the evolutionary and internal differentiation within the social structure that leads to deviation. That's what Archimedes is going to address. Each and every society talking about goals, not prescribing means. That's why deviance, that's why anarchy, state of lawlessness, normlessness. That's what Archimedes is going to speak. In our next session, we will be discussing. What is the point? So the same way that internal, the differentiation also culminating in deviation, in set of norms. No value system is absolute, that varies. It is that way. Though India, collectivism is the core principle, over the days you embrace individualism, cultural change. It is not right and wrong. Culture changes. It is that way. So a dominant ideology thesis. This is according to Abercrombie, Hill, and Turner. That the people are they're accusing the very Talcott Parsons that way. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not really that way. So here we talk about pattern variables. What do you mean by pattern variables? That the society has got its own the choices in front of that individuals facing choices provided by the society, whether to choose this or that. Before going there, so the role performance, especially when you do your role performance, you got status, you're going to discharge your role because society expects you to discharge. As a teacher, you teach. As a doctor, you cure passion. In that role performance, you encounter strains and tension. That depends on the nature of institutionalization, the way with which you are taught. Otherwise, you feel complicated. How come I can serve? See, you are a doctor and you are going to heal the wounds of one person, but that guy is a thugs, maroon, rowdy. So what? How come I can deal? No. As a doctor, your role is to cure. It is irrespective of the status of that passion. In front of you, he is passion. Maybe you get the support of your own supporting officials there. That becomes a part and parcel of the hospital administration to take care of law and order, whatever may be the criminal cases, police dealings and all. They will ask the history of the patient, then they will deal accordingly. But there comes as a doctor your role, not worried about strains or tensions. But if you're feeling complicated, probably you did not take the value system properly. Your value system is to cure, to be part of the solution. That depends on the way with which you are institutionalized, and not only that, the way with which you have institutionalized also, internalized also. It is not how you are taught, the way with which you learned, internalized, imbibed. Ladies and gentlemen, that way we are talking about. So role performance, where it's completely depending on where you encounter strains and tension. Ladies and that's otherwise called, that you want to cure, but that guy, why that he got wounded because he was trying to hit his own, that lady. The domestic violence. How come as a lady doctor you will have, that? But you are, as a doctor, you are supposed to be free from whims and fancies. There, a passion is a passion. You should not go with your value system. Your duty is to cure. Ladies and gentlemen, you will come to know all those things. What is that? So, the situational dilemmas, dichotomies, vis-a-vis in relation to the of available choices. What way, that I have to heal the wound as a doctor, but this guy, how he got wounded, because he was trying to, that he attacked his own missus. He practiced gender injustice, domestic violence. You should not allow that value system to go to your mind. That's totally different. I can't, that suggest, that solution for you. But this is what the dilemma, the situation. You feel strain, structure, the tension. So the situational dilemmas are dichotomies in terms of, that available choices we are talking about, all alternatives. So according to Talcott Parsons, pattern variables provide overall direction in which most of the members of the social system, it provides the direction so that most of the members of the social system choose their roles. So all these choices, alternatives provided by society itself. That's what according to Talcott Parsons. Whenever you try to discharge your duties, you face alternatives, whether to choose this or that. Where comes dilemma? There comes dilemma. Otherwise, society provided all those alternatives. While choosing, that you will come to know the direction of the society, in what way you head towards that particular direction also. So what are all those choices, alternatives you can ask me, ladies and gentlemen? It is affectivity versus affective neutrality. See, that's what I said just now. Doctor-patient relationship is affective neutrality. Patient, that's all. No, it's paining. Come on, don't inject that vaccination. No, in spite of that, okay, it's okay. Somewhat. It's paining. So I'm not injecting this vaccine. No, I'm not administering this, the vaccine. Can you say that? Otherwise, you are not ensuring welfare of the patient. Where you are supposed to practice this affective neutrality. But the relationship between mother and child, the benevolence, of course, that the special relationship, umbilical cord connectivity, Toppul Kudi Uravu in Tamil, ladies and gentlemen. So that's affectivity. Even we are talking about stem cell research based on that. See? Okay, it's that way, affectivity, mother-child. But, it is whether to choose affectivity, be emotional or emotionally neutral. It's up to you in a particular occasion. But, the situation, but, that the management expects you to be emotionally neutral. At the end of the day, law, that ethics is more than law. Ethics expects you to show passion, concern, show mercy. What you can't achieve through law, you can achieve through ethics. That's what the path we are heading towards. That is what the knowledge-based society's core principle. Industrial society may be practicing, law-based administration. The advanced, the mature society, knowledge-based society, more than law, they started practicing ethics. They become practical. Because in law you find limitation. But ethics talks about end purpose, ladies and gentlemen, whatever may be. So management expects you to be emotionally neutral, but that the benevolence at the end of the day, that will you will understand. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So whether to choose this, I've got my own justification. It's up to you. So whether to choose this affectivity or affective neutrality, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about not only that diffusiveness or specificity. It is based on the scope or nature of that interaction, social interaction. See, between doctor-patient relationship, it is very specific. So, doctor, what's your problem? Yeah, doctor, I've got problem. That I have to, earn, that minimum, 100 crore to bring resource for my family. Yeah, what is that? That I have to build that, institution from, that UKG to, PhD. I want to create one university. I want to establish one MNC. Hello, this is not the way with which you talk with doctor. You may have umpteen number of problems. The very relationship between doctor and patient is specific. The scope of interaction, you tell your history related to that, the health impact, whatever may be, nothing to do with your social impact. Other factors, that immaterial to the doctor. So the relationship between doctor and patient, very specific. Even buyer-seller, that otherwise, he will lose patients. Next, the doctor will call. Next patient, nurse, he will call like that. Otherwise, madam, otherwise he will press the bell. Very well. It is that way. So buyer-seller relationship, under specificity. But family and friendship, we share everything. That is what family. That is what friends. It's quite broad. You share everything. The whole way of life lived within. That is diffusiveness. Right? You understand the scope of nature of interaction. Here you got choice to speak with him or not. What to speak, what not to speak. You got your own choices, that you got your own alternatives available. They are provided by the society itself, according to Talcott Parsons. Otherwise, in terms of value system, to choose particularistic value system or universal value system. The universal value system, of course, you talk about, to strictly adhere to the global value, respecting human rights, or particularistic value system. Maybe you belong to one caste, maybe you are upper caste, you want, to treat lower caste people with social distance. That's bad. That's happening even today in rural areas. When I go to rural areas, I'll treat my, that Dalit student who studied with me, by name Venkatesan. That he is in somewhere working BSNL. He also studied engineering. I invited, that him to my home. He sat with me. He had coffee with me. So my relatives, in his absence came. How come you can do that? You violated. How come you can allow him? You country brutes. You don't know constitution. You don't know it is. You got scheduled caste. The discrimination, prohibition of discrimination act. Earlier, protection of civil rights act. These guys are never. They are still practicing caste system. So whether to choose, particularistic, because village people, caste-bound people, they will choose particularistic value system, social distance, even the two-tumbler system, the South practice we are talking about. But universalism, because you respect the human rights. Here is a human being with inherent potential, worth. You have to appreciate, respect. If you don't respect the potential, then what? So that's whether to choose universal value or particular value, it is up to you. Whether to address the kinship value, that or friendship value, or to that uphold societal law, norms, or global the value system. It is that way. And quality versus performance. Whether you that appreciate people as I spoke now, whether you appreciate people in terms of the meritocracy, quality, of course you call that achieved pattern, or in terms of that the quality becomes the ascription, or in terms of the caste they belong to. You don't that respect people because of their socio-economic background. Respect the people as they are. The individual that potential inherent in every human being should be respected, ladies and gentlemen. When that is the scenario, it is achievement orientation of status. But if you respect in terms of the caste or socio-economic background he or she belongs to, it is ascriptive background. It is very difficult to show equal affection, equal respect to everyone. There you are mature. That's totally different scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, it is self-orientation versus collective orientation. Are you going to address from your personal interest? Are you going to address the issue in terms of what is good for the society? Whether it is going to fulfill your self-satisfaction, self-gratification, or going to address the collectivity, going to benefit the community or society. That is what we say. Whatever you do, you ensure parallelly, it's also benefiting society, symbiotic. It is not you alone grow at the cost of society. Don't ask what the nation has done to you, what you have done to the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the service attitude we are talking about, but where do you serve is very important. It's not in the name of becoming civil servant, that you start entering into the roadside, fight all those, you wait for some time, qualify yourself, get equipped, you reach the park, then you start showing. Now it's your time to do duty, because you have to understand where to serve, what to serve. You have clear plan. I'm not misleading you, ladies and gentlemen. It's that way. I think it is that way. I think that some that very fantastic way with which the very Talcott Parsons has enriched our understanding about society, and he also that got criticized on various grounds that we have witnessed. So nothing is free from criticism. Hope that criticism is going to be constructive, that takes that very subject matter to the next level. So far we interacted that with you, ladies and gentlemen, on the basis of that perspective, structural functionalism, especially under the social thinker, the Talcott Parsons, very well, American structural functionalist, and because of his that grand theory of social system, of course voluntaristic theory of social action, even the various that the part of that social action theory, not only that, the pattern variables, agile models. I think hope you would have understood thoroughly very well. I think when it comes to that the very resources for this particular that thinker, of course as usual for all the terms available, please have the support of dictionaries. William P. Scott, even Oxford or Penguin, even advanced level dictionary after going through basic books, maybe Duncan Mitchell, that's fantastic also, but not to start at the beginning level. And then if at all you find time, NCERT, the other textbooks, of course, you talk about, that you got textbook list we shared in the previous videos, you got the list, and the IGNO has dealt completely, and also they have gone to the extent of comparing Indira Gandhi National Open University material, very well. The Gyan Ghosh you can download, ladies and gentlemen, especially, that the MA level materials, especially, you got all social scientists in comparison. I think that's enough. And also Francis Abraham, and even that for your next level, maybe for not mandatory, I'm saying Ritzer, Douglas, Goodman we are talking about. I think don't complicate, that I think in all my sessions I've taken notes. I'm that you can sit with paper and pen in front of all my sessions to enrich your that understanding further. You can refer all those material, also drop all your questions. You can reach me in Telegram as well as YouTube channel. Also watch all my videos in the Unacademy a platform. The special classes available, ladies and gentlemen. I think that I enriched your understanding. I think that my interaction so far went productive, I believe. So thanks for your passions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's meet that in the next session tomorrow with another thinker. I think it is right time to sign off. And so far, this is Success Sampath interacted with you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Unacademy once again. Please use my referral code, say success, to avail 10% discount. Please go for Iconic program, which is that 2 years program, because you are going to be in service for 25 to 30 years. Great things will take time. This is right time, ladies and gentlemen. That signing off from you. Especially, this is Success Sampath. Welcome to Unacademy once again. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Have the rest of good evening. Thank you.